Hello, folks. We are back. North America Overwatch Contenders Trials. My best flannel. What else can you ask for, Sir Waltham and Dryad here to bring you the action? We're going to be starting off with Wisp versus Shoes Money Crew. Dryad, hyped as always.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what's going to happen today because we've seen some very unusual matches and we've talked about how consistently inconsistent some teams can be, and we've definitely seen it across all the different maps. For first match, just to start it out, Wisp, they have one victory over Shoes Money Crew. They were 1-1 at the moment, and that is one of the things that I wanted to go over, and is that the match that we casted from them 2 days ago, they weren't doing good. They were making a lot of mistakes. They didn't really have the positioning. It seems like the communication was a little bit off. But when I saw them yesterday, they were doing so much better, and they had that synergy going, and they looked like a completely different team. So it's it's very unexpected, pretty much what we can see from them every single time.
You're absolutely right on that. As we know, Shoes Money Crew often coming in with a little bit of the mix-up. You know, their roster not necessarily as consistent, particularly when you look towards those support lines. I do believe we see those kind of swap in and out. We saw it particularly on Monday, or I guess it would be Monday. I'm getting my days all mixed up. The first day of trials.
Yeah, and I think the sports, even though they do play a huge part on the different metas that we've seen recently, but what catches the attention to me the most is seeing the tanks and how they vary so much depending on what teams are comfortable. So when there was the other team going against Shoes Money Crew, they say that they were playing just to counter them a little bit more. And we've had situations like that they just play to their strengths and they're able to highlight themselves a little bit more just like that. But because there are so many metas, some teams like to play with that rush, other teams just lock their Wrecking Ball, the Winston and Diva. There are so many possibilities. So as we go on the different days of trials, we see different things coming through and maybe defining that meta a little bit more.
Yeah, this is not like days of old Dryad where we're seeing, you know, the standard comp versus the standard comp. In this day and age, it definitely seems like literally every game within Trials is its own kind of capsule, its own vacuum or bubble. You're not seeing the same two compositions go up against each other all that often.
And I think when we saw it happening in Lijiang Tower, where you would expect that to happen the most, where you would expect both of the teams running rush, or maybe both of the teams running that double role that is so important. But at the same time, it's very complicated. So some teams are hesitant to run that composition, knowing that they can have a better synergy, maybe with a full dive. So there's a lot of different views on how teams want to approach this. I think the coaches are all having a different perspective, but what is something that we can be sure of is that everyone is able to get away by just playing to their strengths. If you have a team that's really good at Wrecking Ball, we've seen them being highlighted a little bit more. If we've seen also teams that are good at Rush, they're able to get away with it no matter what map it is. So just highlighting what teams, especially main tanks, feel comfortable with is going to help them the most.
Absolutely, and we will be starting off on Nepal for Wisp versus Shoes Money Crew, and the other game, which will be Malice and Drifters a little bit later this evening. But either way, we're starting on Nepal. It looks like we're going to be on the Inner Sanctum for things to start. And Dryad, I'm ready to go. What do you expect?
Ready for battle.
I mean, I do expect a lot of things from these two teams, but Wisp, it's all about keeping that consistency and having the advantage from the beginning more than anything else. We see the Reinhardts being locked. We see a couple of different supports as well. Shoes Money Crew, I saw a tweet from Aspen saying that when she had the first match, she was not expecting the Moira from the enemy team. So I'm wondering if they're expecting the Moira that could be happening instead of Wisp throughout the entire match. Do you see the change? But you know, it still could happen.
Yeah, still the opportunity as we get later into these games, but interestingly enough, these compositions looking very similar. Baptiste, Lucio, the Reinhardt, going to be the difference in the Diva and the Signal. We'll see exactly how that plays out here. Shoes Money Crew willing to take a little bit more of that mid-ground, pushing up a little bit more aggressively with that Reinhardt, the charge coming in from Cameron. Going to be getting them a little bit more damage. Aspen as well, getting the double boop onto Doomed and Joshua. That is a great start for this team. Shoes Money Crew now looking to just get on a point. It's going to be Soko taking themselves off the map for a quick regroup.
Yeah, Wisp, you know that that's going to be the reset happening. You lose your main tank and one of your DPS, especially because you lose your Mei. There's no opportunity to have that extra shield that serves when we look at the Mei wall. And with that, it's going to be Shoes Money Crew. That's what I was saying. Wisp, if they want to take the advantage, it has to be from the beginning, and they already lost it.
Now, as we look, just comparing the ult charges here, 20% on these losers. Doesn't matter though, Joshua taken down once again. Wisp just cannot keep their main tank alive right now. With this, Shoes Money Crew continues to pile forward. Damage Crew going in for the roll. Miracle doesn't need to land the headshot, still does. Soko able to take down Aspen, but that's going to be a Pyrrhic victory.
That's not really going to affect Shoes Money Crew too much, so as Aspen is able to come back very soon. And the ult charge, like you were mentioning, a lot of ultimates are about to be ready. Pascal already having that amplification matrix in Cameron with that shatter. Well, Wisp, they are struggling to get anything past that 70%.
Certainly are still, again, those many ultimates available for Shoes Money Crew. We'll see how they play around them this time around. Cameron, being that bulwark at the front of the team, has the Earth Shatter. That's the May wall down. They're going to be looking to perhaps snake around it. Cameron getting very aggressive here. Andwari going to be taking down Miracle. In the meantime, the May wall goes up. May have blocked the Earth Shatter coming in from Cameron. Certainly blocks the accessibility that it has when it does connect. And Cameron going to be receiving a good sound barrier, keeping themselves up. However, this Dragon's really making things difficult for these tanks, particularly Cameron, who is just stuck in the corner trying to keep themselves alive. Almost taken down by Vega, but Shoes Money Crew manages to be resilient.
It's a tough decision, especially to be able to get the synergy going with your supports. You know that you need your immortality. You don't want to waste it, but you also need the sound barrier just in time, and you want to time it with the flux. You want to time it maybe even with the blizzard coming through. And Shoes Money Crew, they're doing an amazing job already passing that 90%.
Shoes Money Crew blocks that Diva Bomb successfully coming in from Rose, and that's going to be Wisp activating the sound barrier, using that to get everybody in on point. Miracle goes in for the high noon. That's going to clean up a lot of the threat that came in through that Earth Shatter, and with this, Wisp had the opportunity. Jishua landed a fat shatter. They just couldn't make it connect, although things still not quite out of the gate just yet. Shoes Money Crew managed to get a couple kills and a couple kills more, as now they flip the point.
They look like a completely different team from what we saw 2 days ago, and I love seeing it. It seems like it took them a couple of days to build that synergy, but now Shoes Money Crew looking unstoppable on this first sub map here. Absolutely looking forward to keeping that momentum, and he's got to be with that rush. Cameron, I've talked about this player in the past being a really good main tank. It seems like that synergy that they have your off tank is always there. And if you're also, counting the supports that we talked about before, you have everything that you could ask for this team to get a couple more victories here in Trials.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be wanting those victories as we get more and more into it here. But last round just felt like Wisp could not get one foot in front of the other. They've still got a little bit of time to warm up, but they're not going to want to lose this match. If they lose it here, they do lose the whole of Nepal. Going to be 1 point down to their opponents as these doors do open up. We're seeing Cameron lead their team up onto the high ground, and we're once again seeing the difference in tanks now a little bit more fully. We're seeing Soko on that Orisa, and the Symmetra coming out as well on Dwari. Going to be able to cut down a lot of damage. This Maywall coming out big section, meaning that Shoes Money Crew can't necessarily help out. Those who do get section is going to be Miracle, who does take the first drop, and now Wisp starting off on a good foot this time around, getting a handful of kills. It's just up to that baby Diva, but Rose can only last so long.
Yeah, a couple kills going through for the side of Shoes Money Crew, but it's not enough as Wisp. They take the point, and they're also going to take the high ground. They have a very interesting composition. It's going to be very slow. You have the support from your Lucio, but look at the tank. There's going to be the Reinhardt, the Orisa. So you gotta have the best position that you can. Keep holding, keep trying to get those kills very, very early on.
This is some smart maneuvering coming in from Wisp, knowing that they have that sim. They can just let the teleporter go and absolutely ferry their team on both sides of the fight. As we see Andwari now leaning in, we hear that beam sounding like a hornet's nest, just getting tons of damage early on. If that Reinhardt keeps his shield up, it's also going to be giving away free charge. Cameron does drop though, so not much of a concern there. Andwari now on the chase, eventually going to have to leave Rose alone.
Absolutely, and Wisp definitely understanding their win condition. It's all about getting that initial kill. And they have the teleporter, they have that Lucio for a little bit of help. But Shoes Money Crew, they are struggling. They have a couple ultimates coming through now, but they have to work 1 or 2 out if they don't want for the side of Wisp to pass a 60-70% even.
Could be the amplification windows coming in from both teams and the Proton Barrier. However, it's going to be Shoes Money Crew who breaks line of sight. They're not going to be getting any threat onto that point, but they will be letting those ults ride out both the barrier and that amplification matrix. Jishua still has the Earth Shatter in pocket, though might be waiting for it. They're going to see that the immortality field rather is going to be thrown in rather early to that as the rotation tries to come through. Going to be the Blizzard as the Earth Shatter sent out at the back end of it. Jishua able to get one in Aspen. The rest of the team's going to be there for the cleanup chime. Does manage to bring a 1 down, but 1's not enough.
Yeah, so many ultimates used by the side of Shoes Money Crew, but they weren't able to get any value. Also, the fight lasted too long. That this is one last fight territory for the sub now. Wisp might be trying to make it even. They still, for the side of Shoes Money Crew, have that shatter and potentially they sound barrier, but they need to connect this time around.
See exactly what Shoes Money Crew can make happen here. It's going to be up onto Jishua to try to block this Earth Shatter that could come in big. It's going to be just on to that Baptiste. Does connect, but the Baptiste looks like he might have been already in the grave. With this, the Doom Fist coming out from Doomed, aptly named there as the Hulk. goes in to bring everybody in the line. Wisp losing members, hemorrhaging them, as a matter of fact. It's going to finally be going over to Shoes Money Crew.
Aspen sounds very came just in time to try to keep the team alive and to also allow them to play more aggressive. With that Shoes Money Crew, they do take the point, but they know they can't lose at a single time. The Deadeye might be serving along with the Amplification as a zoning tool to try to avoid Wisp from attacking too fast. Like we said, they don't have a lot of speed, and because of that, Sokko now going into the Diva instead of the Orisa.
As we look ahead, looks like Wisp going to be going for a little bit more of a direct route. They have that teleporter to get them right into point. The Maywall comes out, but nobody caught out by it. Andwari still going to be taken down throughout this fight, though. Earthshatter goes in from Joshua. Doesn't seem to land a whole lot. Certainly not disrupting Shoes Money Crew as much as they needed it to. The flashbang coming up from Miracle. Enough to stun the big old burly Reinhardt. And with this, once again, the fight continues in favor of Shoes.
Just keeping the momentum going, and also just trying to build that ultimate economy slowly. The reset happening from Wisp, on the other hand, is going to be risky. They're going to lock in with a Proton Barrier from Symmetra, and that is not an ultimate that you can necessarily avoid. You can just try to hope to go for the same approach that Shoes Money Crew did that first time, and was just kind of waiting for it to go off, but they don't want to go away from the point.
Interestingly enough, we see that Amplification Matrix come out, then the Maywall comes to pseudo-block it from Doom. It may have been a little bit of dyssynergy there, as Andwari does throw in that Proton Barrier. The Diva Bomb comes in big, looking to cause a little bit of destruction. Doesn't quite connect. Now it's the Sound Barrier coming in from Vega, keeping everybody up. The Earthshatter mostly gets blocked by the Proton Barrier. Andwari, the only one to get taken down, however, barely able to be healed up by CJ. Now those turrets are going to go down, making it all that much harder for Shoes Money Crew to enter. Going to be Sokko standing on the point alone. Shoes Money Crew looking to make this last fight territory. Joshua getting driven way back into the back lines. That Reinhardt getting separated, but Cameron not going to mind too much as it's peeling Wisp away from the point. Vega takes down one, but the damage may have already been done. Wisp just does not seem to have the manpower despite Miracle going down. It's going to be Chime on the Doomfist, just cleaning up, ensuring that this fight is won for the side of Wisp.
This is turning out to be a really good comeback from the side of Shoes Money Crew. They were down 99%, now making it 99, just making that cleanup happen with a couple more ultimates, including that self-destruct for the Diva that's going to completely deny the space that Wisp is trying to retake.
With Shoes Money Crew cleaning up the last few remaining members, it's up to Vega to try to contest CJ. Too busy fighting to get onto point. The Amplification Matrix just gonna seal the deal. Shoes Money Crew manages to take Nepal.
Yeah, really good job from the side of Shoes Money Crew. Like I said, a comeback that looked a little bit unexpected. It started with the Sound Barrier coming through from Aspen, giving them a little bit more of the health that they needed to play aggressive. Then they were able to keep holding the point. And we also saw a couple mistakes happening from the side of Wisp. They used an Amplification Matrix on the high ground to try to push the side of Shoes Money Crew to the low ground 2 point, but that is exactly what they were going to do anyway. So they didn't really get any value out of that. And the Proton Barrier, all those ultimates were something that Shoes Money Crew could avoid, so they do take the advantage right now.
I gotta be honest, the pick for the Symmetra was looking a little bit peculiar. Wasn't sure that we'd see the teleports be as effective as those turrets are once you're already set up on point, but overall, Wisp going to have the opportunity to recompose themselves. They will get to pick the next map. There is a selection between any map types, although specified maps. We'll go over them. There's quite a few, but still, Wisp going to be content to know that they have map advantage, or at least the option to put themselves in map advantage.
Yeah, and one of the things they mentioned is that's the thing with Symmetra, is that we see it being used right at the beginning of maps, but we didn't see teams forcing to stay in Symmetra because they know they might be getting a little bit more value. We see some very interesting Symmetra plays where they get 2 kills, 3 kills, maybe even more. But it's not a guaranteed kill like you want to have. So that's why we also see a lot of teams on the DPS line always playing McCree, always playing those heroes that are going to guarantee the kills and the damage, especially when you have shields on the other side.
You're absolutely right. Symmetra just so brutal against those shields. If we had gone to Command Center, or not Command Center, we aren't in Lijiang, but if we were to see a map like Lijiang Command Center where, you know, you see those very corridored areas where shields could be very dominant, that's typically where we see Symmetra shine. We also see it, of course, on that night market. We saw it on Monday as well, but so far this time it's just not coming up to fruition for Wisp.
Yeah, but even then, it was a good approach at the beginning. The thing is that with the composition that they run with that double shield with the Reinhardt, Orisa, Lucio, and Symmetra, the composition is meant for you to stay on point and to get that 100% right away. And they made a few changes, like you said, like the off-tank going into Diva, but it was a little bit too late. They couldn't build that momentum again. So we did see some really good signs on they are playing the right composition. It's just how aggressive they want to play, and this is something that I pointed out 2 days ago for the start of Shoes Money Crew. They were playing very, very slow. They didn't really seem coordinated, but all those mistakes were fixed now.
Now we'll see if that coordination continues to come back or continues to build for Shoes Money Crew. Of course, as we go into different maps, particularly these more point-focused ones, I do get word that we will be heading to Numbani next, so a perfect example of that. We'll be seeing if perhaps we see Wisp perform in a different fashion, considering that now it's not as deathmatchy of a mode. It's going to be a little bit more objective focus, getting towards that first point and then ferrying the cart.
And it's very interesting to see how teams approach that first point more than anything else. Once they get the momentum into Street's phase of Numbani, it gets a little bit easier for them to build those ultimates into third, and that's why we see huge time banks sometimes at the end of Numbani. But it's all about that first point, and I've mentioned it a couple of times, just how you want to hold your defense. So I don't see it out of the possibilities for Wisp to try to go for a similar approach for what we saw just now, of very stationary heroes, very stationary tanks that are going to allow you to maintain and control that space from beginning to end.
Yeah, a lot of verticality, particularly on that first point that you were mentioning, a lot of verticality to have to contest with. That's why I'm hoping we're going to see something like the Winston, maybe the Wrecking Ball Diva as well. We already saw the teams kind of running out with Diva once or twice already on Nepal, so I like the options there. I don't think the Baptiste is necessarily going to be a bad option either, considering that he has those jump boots that just get him to such high locations, allow for really easy healing, especially if you're on that defensive side.
Yeah, and I love seeing the Baptiste being played. I think yesterday when I saw Shoes Money Crew and Numbani, I saw them playing, it was Brig and it was Anna. So this is a composition specifically for this force that I always find interesting, because you're going to get a lot of healing from the Anna, but that means that you also need the support from the rest of your team. You need that peeling from your Brig to make sure you're not getting taken down immediately. It's a little bit similar to Zenyatta, but in an easier way, just having that positioning and having those heals that you can, if your team is playing a Winston, you can get those heals to them right away.
Yeah, definitely have to agree. Anna, one of the more vulnerable supports. I mean, she does have a kit that can kind of mitigate a lot of that, the sleep darts, the anti-nades to heal just a bit, but it's certainly not enough to get away from that threat unless you land a big sleep dart and can just walk off. But if you're talking something about Winston, a lot of times we see that double bubble come out. There's always a big, I guess, tic-tac-toe game going on there.
Yeah, especially with the Winston, I love seeing the approaches that the different teams take when it comes to playing the Winston, because even though Winston, you get that your bubble, you get that protection, you're also in a big risk when you're making that jump. So making sure that your team is protecting you, whether it is with the Diva or even with the double bubble when teams decide to go with Sari and have that extra protection, that is going to be essential. And that requires a lot of synergy. That requires the good timing of who's going to make the call when they're going to play aggressive, which is usually the main tag. So Shoes Money Crew, I would say that this is why they were doing a lot better yesterday, just having that communication going, and we already see it. Is it going to be a little bit more of what we were talking about, the Winston, and for the line of the supports, the same thing as yesterday is going to be that Brig and the Anna.
I love this Sombra option here, the opportunity to just get in there, deal a ton of damage, get out, disable all the enemy abilities. It's going to be a little bit hard to deal with on Dwari and Doomed, as they can easily be outside of that hack range, but we'll see. If nope, in fact, it's going to be the swap coming in from Chime. They decide they don't want to stick onto that Sombra, perhaps just doing a little bit of scouting. My dreams are for nothing, but we will continue to see if this Echo provides the benefit that they're looking for instead. We see Wisp creeping around, knowing that the majority of Shoes Money Crew, if not all of them, are up on that high ground. Of course, it's going to be Doomed keeping eyes towards Chime. Chime not going to be able to fight with their team. And if they drop too close to those remaining members, it's going to be a little bit of an ugly situation for them. Now we do look ahead, and so far it's Shoes Money Crew not pushing in. They might be trying to suss out where Wisp's weaknesses are, where they can really prod for advantage.
Yeah, just slowly trying to get control of the high ground, but Shoes Money Crew, they're not going to be able to get it that easily. I mean, look at that. Wisp just immediately jumping into them, making it harder for them to get any survival. Shoes Money Crew, in the meantime, they're just going to that poke phase, trying to build those ultimates as soon as possible, especially the Nano. It's already
And we do see Light with that Nano online already. That Winston tries to jump up onto the high ground, but that peel we talked about here, Dryad coming in the big, Cameron getting knocked back, not able to get the massive damage that they needed, and with Rose going down, now Shoes Money Crew is a little bit on the back foot. Joshua does get taken out as well, but walk back for the defense, not exactly as brutal as it is on a lot of these other hybrid maps. Doom takes down a Miracle, and oh no, it looks like the dive for Cameron's exactly what Doomed wanted as they just go in for the duplicate, get the Primal Rage as well, trying to bully this Brig away. Does eventually get taken out of that duplicate form. It's not by the Brig, by Light this time around, but we'll be seeing if they can find the benefit here. Aspen going to be throwing in that rally a little bit earlier into this fight. Not really finding too much, although nobody's really gotten onto point too solidly yet. Vega does bring up Soko, and we've already seen the first tick go in favor of Shoes Money Crew. Wisp needs to have something restabilize here, and losing CJ is certainly not the way, Dryad.
Yeah, there's a couple kills happening for the side of Wisp, but finally Shoes Money Crew looking a little bit stronger. The last remaining members of Wisp trying to touch a point, trying to lay it, but it's not going to be possible. And it was a very long approach. I mean, we saw the first ultimate being used, being that Nano from Light, going into Cameron. Doesn't really get the jump, but still is able to get a little bit of value, gets one kill, and then now Light already have the next Nano to use on Street Face. And this is what I was saying, when you get that card moving, you get the momentum going, and Wisp, they did use a lot of ultimates. They're going to have difficulty to try to rebuild that momentum again.
And important to note here, both teams changing their off-tank into that Zarya role. So we're going to be looking for something a little less divey with a little less mobility, moving on to that standard, what is now standard double bubble composition, that Zarya and Winston. It's going to be the Nano going on to Cameron once again, allowing just all that massive cleave damage up onto the top floor, making it so painful for the entirety of Wisp, who are all huddled up in there. And just remember, Dryad, this is all just continual cart progress for the attacking team. Another dive coming in and another 40 charge for Rose. Gets stuck with the pulse bomb, doesn't have that self barrier to keep themselves alive, so Wisp managed to take down one, but still they're not doing too much to really slow down this push. Gonna be doomed on this Brig, but the Brig not gonna be able to build up that rally too fast. Just everybody seems to be avoiding her flail range.
Very interesting duplicate that we see Doom turning into the Brig. Almost tried to build that rally, but doesn't get it. Shoes Money Crew in the meantime, they lost the momentum that they have, but that rally for the set of Aspen is about to be ready. That close one as well, trying to connect, and this is going to be easier as there are no ultimates on the support side for Wisp. They can hit it on the Ana, maybe even on the Brig, and that is going to allow them to start that fight and to already have one member down.
As we look now, Shoes Money Crew continues to just search for their opportunity. They're not too concerned with Cart right now, despite the fact that it is moving backwards. They keep that Tracer on it just to make sure it doesn't lose too much progress, reset the backward travel path. Doom's now going to be firing those cluster bombs into that Zarya grab. Soko able to land some big kills, the big melee finishing off two in both the supports. And just like that, Wisp may have stabilized at one of the best points in the Streets phase.
Not very often we see kills like that happening for Zarya. Really good job on the rest of the team for the side of Wisp. Having an amazing performance, putting the damage in, especially the Winston, and of course everyone else. With that, they now have the ultimate economy to keep winning for the next fight, maybe 2 fights depending on what they decide to use. And those ultimates for Shoes Money Crew, they lost them.
We have to keep eyes, though. Shoes Money Crew has quite a few in their hand, although, oh, that's crucial. Rose uses that grab surge as it comes out, but nobody is there to follow up as Chime got taken down with Rose a little bit earlier. And now Wisp continues to push up, touching the spawn point a little bit and backing out.
Yeah, it seems like Rose didn't realize that 2 of the members of Shoes Money Crew were down. Using the Graviton might have been a mistake. Yeah, you can connect it with the rest of the team, but this is one of the keys of playing Sorry, is that you need the rest of your team to get that support, to get value out of your Gravitons. And Shoes Money Crew, they waste another ultimate. They still have the Nano again, ideally going into Cameron and then connected with a Primal Rage. But as we see that Aspen now getting taken down, and Wisp, they just don't want to stop.
Wisp certainly do not want to stop. They're going to be investing more ultimates into this. That is going to be risky coming into this next fight, where now they're not going to have many. Their opponents have 4.
Just keeping the momentum. All about the mental game Wisp is doing right now. A lot of ultimates being built for the side of Shoes Money Crew, but this is one last opportunity, one last fight. About 30 seconds remaining for this team. They can initiate with the Nano, with the duplicate. They have a lot of possibilities, but they need to get out of spawn first.
They certainly got to try. Soko almost close to another grab, and if we can see a combination like we did last time, that's going to mean a lot of damage. Nano onto the Winston up high. Means that Winston's going to be able to deal a boatload of damage, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Cameron, as well, been thrown in that primal rage, just causing even more of a disturbance. Chime going to be taking a little bit of a nap as that duplicate. Not going to wear off completely, but it's going to bring a lot of that primal rage time out. It's going to be on Dwari taken down. That cart will make its way to second, but a lot of time off the clock.
Yeah, they have only a couple more fights into third point if they want to complete this map, which is something that Shizmaker is absolutely looking forward to do. They're also slowly building their ultimate economy again, but Wisp, they do have the advantage here. They have a Nano, once again, to give into the Winston. They can initiate as early as possible and try to get those kills.
Aspen's starting off very strong. Everybody's starting off very strong from Shoes and Money Crew. Wisp does manage to cling back a couple more, but it looks like they may have gotten the worst end of those trades. It's going to be the grab as well thrown in. This cart still has quite a ways to go, and that was a heavy investment for cleanup on two.
Yeah, a lot of ultimates being used, including that rally at the beginning. But this is the approach that I'd like to see more than using that rally halfway through a fight, where it can be a little bit more risky. So Aspen using it, just guaranteeing a little bit more space for his Shoes crew. It's now going to have Wisp being put in a very difficult situation where they need to build those tank ultimates before anything else.
They certainly do, but they have a long ways to go. It's going to be that Winston duplicate coming in from Chime. That Primal Rage already online. Dishua taken down means that there's no main tank for the side of Wisp. No tanks at all for the side of Wisp, but 3 for the side of Shoes Money Crew. That Primal going to be coming out. We see the rally coming in from Vega, just trying to keep the remaining members of their team alive. That Winston so dangerously low, but gets the healing, gets out of dodge, and makes sure that they can contest this cart. Gonna be the pulse bomb going out towards Vega. Doesn't really seem to connect. High noon from Anjawari. Doesn't sink anything. Miracle able to clip them down instead. Going to be a close one for Shoes Money Crew, but they're pulling out the kills. They are indeed getting it. It will be in overtime, but as soon as these last few remaining members in Doom, in Vega, in on Damari get cleaned up, it will be all for them. That Doom is trying to touch, just cannot make it happen.
One advantage, not really allowing Wisp still to come out in time, and Shoes Money Crew, they complete the first round, but there's a long way to go. We talked about it. It went to overtime, and now Wisp, it's all about the momentum. They had it sometimes, and it looked quite impressive into that second part of the map, into the street phase of Numbani, where they were just playing so aggressive every single time. They were going to their spawn, even a little bit more, and we saw the Zarya getting three kills that seem out of nowhere. So we saw a lot of changes like that. If Wisp want to have time remaining, they need to keep this momentum, and it has to be from the beginning. And it's not so much about what composition they want to run, because we know that Winston is going to be a classic here, but about building that Nano first and being able to play aggressive, which is exactly what Shoes Money Crew did in first and how it worked out.
Yeah, absolutely have to agree. This is not unwinnable for Wisp. Despite the fact that your opponent got it to that third point, they did so in overtime. And yes, Numbani might be one of the more difficult maps to kind of complete to third point. They still will have the opportunity to get it done. And if they do so with more than a minute, that means that, well, that's a no-lose situation, as we were talking about on Monday, Dryad. It's just going to be a situation where the worst they can end up doing is drawing, but they have to meet that 1 minute checkpoint.
Yeah, and I feel like there's two approaches that teams can take in Numbani depending on how comfortable they feel in the map, and is that they either have a lot of time remaining at the end, or they don't have any time at all. It's so hard to see that middle ground happening where they have maybe a minute or something like that. It's just either they get it or they don't, and there's a lot of teams at any level of Overwatch where I see them having a lot of difficulty with Numbani.
Now, as we are getting word that it seemed like there were some technical issues, going to be a little bit of a longer pause coming out here, Dryad. I want to get your thoughts and opinions. Do you think that Wisp, I'm going to focus on Wisp here because they're in the hot seat. Do you think that they are coming out with the right compositions? Do you think they're matching Shoes Money Crew in the appropriate compositions, but it's their team play or their mechanical performance coming up a little bit short?
It seems like it's all about the communication going on the aggression of who they're going to target first, because Shoes Money Crew, they were having difficulty, and I said this a couple of days ago, but now they know exactly who they're going to jump on, especially the Winston. And for the side of Wisp, they are lacking in a couple fights, but we definitely see the difference. On second point, they were playing so aggressive, and that is when it was working out for them. They just need to keep that going.
And we'll see if they can keep it going. However, folks, it looks like this is going to be a little bit of a longer pause. We will be taking a quick break. We will be right back with it. Don't miss more Overwatch Contenders Trials. Well, whatever the aforementioned technical problems were, we have managed to get them fixed, Drad. Not you and I, of course. We've been in the caster's booth. We're not we're not bringing toolboxes over to the players' houses and fixing their PCs for them. No, they managed to get it resolved all on their own. But we are happy to be getting back into the action here on Nombani. But this was a pretty fair point for these teams to be having technical issues, as you know, better at the half than right when you're in the middle of a huge team fight or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely right in the middle. So it's going to allow them to, they're not wasting anything. They're not wasting ultimates. Or not revealing the composition, the secret composition that they're going to bring. Definitely not expected by the enemy team at all. So, now we're going to be seeing the opposite scenario. Wisp will be on the attacking side, Choose Money Crew on the defense. And this is something that I'm very curious to see. We were talking about it a little bit before that break. And is that Choose Money Crew and also Wisp, they have really good moments, but also moments where they waste a lot of ultimates at the same time. And it's all about keeping that momentum, keeping that communication. What ultimates will be used first? We saw a couple of the rallies coming through for Aspen at the beginning that helped them play more aggressive. We also saw the kills coming in, the jumps coming through for those Winstons that kind of push the enemy team a little bit more. So if they're able to, pretty much whoever builds those ultimates and keeps that momentum going is the one that's going to be a little bit better, because it seems like it's going to be an even match.
Certainly does. And as we look ahead, we talked about it before the brief pause, Wisp has to get that part delivered to third in overtime with a minute if they want a guaranteed no-loss game. But one step before the other, as now Doomed takes to the skies, looking for any damage they can find, but they can't really find a whole lot there. They shoot out those cluster orbs, not really able to find too much, as those jumps once again are ready to get up into the air. Duel out Chime if necessary. The Winston dives, and a nice cluster bomb coming in from Doomed. It's going to be cleaning up Light. The opportunity to come in further for Doomed, as they do have a lot of healing on them. They're trying to duel a Tracer and a D.Va at the same time, but just like that, it looks like Wisp has already managed to get a stranglehold on first.
And it happened a little bit faster than we saw for the set of Choose Money Crew, where when they were attacking, they used a couple more ultimates. Reduces D.Va trying to delay this from happening, but it's not going to be possible, as Wisp now will be moving that payload into second. And Choose Money Crew, they don't have any ultimates coming through soon besides that pulse bomb that it is able to build really, really fast for inside of Miracle. So all they can hope is try to get that positioning, trying to delay that push, and go into that poke fist, especially for the side of Chime on the Echo, until they're able to play more aggressive.
As we look ahead towards this next fight, you hit the nail on the head with that one, Drag. We got a couple ultimates coming up for Choose Money Crew, most notably that pulse bomb, but it's going to be Doomed going in for the duplicate on the Winston. Going to be trying to build up that primal, builds it up almost instantaneously. However, still seems to be Choose Money Crew the ones getting all the kills here. Joshua and Doomed both able to take down those primal rages. I saw the bully double primal before, and it looks like I'm seeing it once again. However, the cart still not making any progress as these Tracers dueling around on it. Miracle, I'm going to take a step back, try not to die here, but only the best efforts.
Definitely a nightmare to see both of the Winston jumping to you at once. There's absolutely nothing that Shizumani Crew could have done there. They can go again, and they still have the nano to use into camera and then use and connect it to the Primal Rage. But this could be one more fight into second before Wisp gets it.
This is looking like last fight territory for second, or the last fight that Wisp needs to win in order to get it delivered. It's going to be the Diva Bomb going out. Takes down a 1, but that's a 2-for-1 trade. Nano Boost going to be going heavy onto both Winstons. It's going to be the Primal Rage coming out from Cameron and soon to come out from Chime, I'm sure. As Chime now jumping in a little bit short, not going to be able to connect right away. Will, however, be getting it in due time. And now as they get slept once again, Chime just seems to keep getting aced by CJ on these Primal Winstons. These duplicate Primal Winstons just cannot make it happen, it seems. Going to be Wisp coming out with a large number of the kills, and looks like they're going to deliver it to second as well.
Yeah, exactly what we expected to happen is going to be Wisp making it to second in a very easy manner. We saw a couple ultimates, but they are able to build them again. The duplicate and also the primary rage that we saw in that last fight, they're almost ready again. And Shizumani Crew, they have their rally to initiate, but they need to guarantee that those ultimates keep rotating, meaning that Cameron has a lot of pressure to build that ultimate yet again, that primary rage.
We're going to be seeing them dive in with the bubble to try to build up that ultimate 1/3 of the way there. It's going to be the Pulse Bomb coming out from Miracle. Doesn't really land on a whole lot. And Dwari, however, still just trying to lay down that consistent damage, not going for any of those assassinations that Tracer can be so absolutely brutal with. It's going to be the Zarya duplicate now. We're seeing Doom change up the formula just a little bit here. Going to be looking for a big grab, ideally. Joshua coming in with the Primal Rage, throwing Rose over the edge, but they explode before they hit the ground. Now with this, it's to clean up onto just a few more members from Shoes Money Crew as that cart continues to make its way around the bends.
Doom has some very, very interesting duplicates. We saw the Break, then we saw the Zarya, which is not the usual, but Wisp able to move that payload. Shoes Money Crew, they have won the chance.
And Shoes Money Crew needs to stop it here. They don't want to, again, fall below or above that 1-minute line. Joshua gets taken down, as does Chime. So this is a 1-for-1 trade. 5 members left standing for each team. But Shoes Money Crew has the faster respawn advantage. It looks like Wisp acknowledges this. They're going to slowly be working their way back, making sure they can get the full team regroup. But it doesn't look like Shoes Money Crew wants to let them get away, particularly Vega, who's just trying to do out that Tracer. But Miracle takes him out.
A couple of kills coming, and this is exactly what Shizumani Crew was hoping to keep maintaining, but there's a long way to go. Over 3 minutes for the side of Wisp to try to make it into the third point. They just need to build those ultimates. They have to build that rally and that nano, and they're going to completely overwhelm the side of Shizumani Crew. No matter the ultimates that they have, they need to take advantage of it as soon as possible. That's exactly what they're looking for to do, just waiting a couple seconds before attacking.
All about those scant few seconds. It's going to be the grab and the Pulse Bomb coming out. Rose setting up Miracle to do a ton of damage. Chime also coming in with a little bit of cleanup. That's a quick, easy win for Shoes.
And that's going to allow them to rotate and fluctuate those ultimates a little bit more. We saw 2 being used. Now they have the opportunity to use one of the support ultimates along with one of the tank ultimates. So ideally, we can see the Nano and the Primal Rage being used one after the other. Wisp, they also have a couple ultimates of their own, but if Shizumani Crew is able to keep this aggressiveness going, this momentum, then they can waste even more time from the enemy team.
We see the duplicate come out, the nano onto Joshua, going to be trying to clear everybody out, and Dwari lands the Pulse Bomb onto Cameron, taking out that tank, taking out the duplicate form from Chime as well. Now, it's everybody from the side of Shoes Money Crew just trying to stabilize, regain some sense of control. Throws on the nano boost, but doesn't quite build up the grab. A large ways to go based off of just that. Now, we're seeing Aspen getting pushed farther and farther back into the throes of the Wisp team, trying to just get taken out by Wisp, but can't quite have it happen. With this now, Wisp continuing to get these kills one by one, but one by one's not good enough, especially when you lose your main tank. Now trying to lean in, get some more cart progress, but they're not quite making it happen. 2 minutes left on the clock, and they haven't really gotten anywhere, Dryad.
A very messy fight, and Wisp, they haven't get out just yet. They're trying to go in a little bit of that poke damage against Shoes Money Crew. Cameron getting that anti-nade and going very low, but managing to barely stay alive while the rest of the team comes back to live. Wisp, they're also waiting for the save, but there are no ultimates available for any of the teams just yet.
Dwari, of course, has that Pulse Bomb on a line and tries to keep eyes towards the Zarya, but knows if they go towards that grab, they are a dead Tracer walking. They're just going to back out, regroup with their team.
That is something that's going to be very tough for the side of Wisp. They had a lot of time remaining. Now, by the time that they go into the next fight, it's going to be less than a minute, and we could be looking at the same a scenario that we saw from the side of Shoes Manicure, where they might be going to overtime, going into what could be our next round here in Mbani.
We will be seeing multiple rounds, provided that Wisp is able to get to that that third checkpoint, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen on this push as members just start dropping and dropping. Jishua, however, able to claim back two. They have to be playing very carefully here. They are without their supports, without their tracer. Nobody able to keep them alive.
We're seeing a couple of kills coming through for the Ana of Wisp, but the rest of the team is having difficulty capitalizing out of it. You see them once again trying to poke, trying to keep those skills going on, but it's going to be Shoes Manicure with their rally to initiate, and this is getting difficult for Wisp.
Yeah, Shoes Manicure knows this is getting towards the back end of these fights. They're going to be going in. Pulse Bomb goes out. Vega taken down despite the rally that was trying to come out. And now these tanks really going to be suffering without Vega providing a large amount of healing. Doom tries to take the mantle, go in as the Winston himself. Now we see them lean in. It's going to be the grab going out once again. Jishua, or Doomed rather, going in trying to get as much damage in on that grab as possible, knocking Rose away, making sure that this Zarya player cannot find the connection that they need. But the grab goes out. Everybody from the side of Wisp getting locked out in the backline. Vega trying to continue and maintain touch. Now it's going to be Jishua tagging in and out. These players from Wisp have to try to hold out until they can get some reinforcements, and it's going to be in the form of Soko coming in on the Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, it's going to be that spawn advantage also helping this type of Shoes Manicure, and they are getting the kills, but Wisp, they can come in one by one. No ultimates though that are going to make a difference here.
Certainly no ultimates for either side, save Miracle's Pulse Bomb that can deal just that massive burst damage, given that you know people are going to have to get near the card. Throws it out, lands a little bit wide, but still trying to keep everybody up. The pile driver coming in from Rose gets stunned out, gets slept rather. Vega able to take them down. Doomed takes down another, but nobody's on card. With that, Shoes Manicure puts their second point on the board.
No one else being able to touch from the side of Wisp, and that Shoes Manicure already in match point 2-0. And it looked very close on those last fights, but they had their spawn advantage. They had a couple ultimates to use, and that's really what helped them out here.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Shoes Manicure just looking a little bit more refined there. Wisp just looks like they couldn't get over the hump of that third point. Very difficult point in the context of Numbani.
And that is exactly what we were talking about. Teams can have a lot of time remaining or not at all. And I mean, we saw it happening when Wisp was going to third point. They had over 3 minutes to make something happen. And it was fight after fight that they were losing. They were having a lot of difficulty. They were getting taken down early into the fight. And we saw those last ultimates that really made a difference was the rally is already going to delay the enemy team from playing aggressive because they know they're going to lose that matchup. So it came in time. Then we saw the one from Wisp. But like I said, it was too late when this side of Shoes Manicure already had that armor going.
Certainly was. Hopefully Wisp will be able to restabilize themselves as we take a little bit of a break here. The teams and us grab some water, grab some snacks perhaps. But folks, stick around. We'll be back with more Overwatch Contenders Trials. Hello folks, we are back. We're watered, we are refreshed, we're ready to go into our third map between Wisp and Shoes Money Crew. Shoes Money Crew already taking a pretty commanding lead, 2-0 over Wisp.
Yeah, but it's been really, really close from the first map to the second. It seems like it's not a 2-0, but Shoes Money Crew has been doing an amazing job at cleaning up the end of those maps, and that's really what's helping them out so much. While Wisp, they have their right initiation, they have some really amazing fights. They even had the momentum where they went into the enemy spawn just for a little bit using that primary rage from the duplicate, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be enough, so they have a couple more opportunities, but it's gotta be that reverse sweep coming up if they want to take the victory.
Yeah, they are looking into that daunting task of the reverse sweep, a situation that really no team wants to be in, but if you're able to manage it, you're pretty much going down in the history books.
Yeah, it's not very often that we see it, but it's awesome. And out of all the matches that we've seen here in Trials, it seems like this one seems to be one of the closest ones so far, especially in North America, because teams are coming back and forth. They either get completely destroyed by the enemy team, or it's going to be very even. So we've seen a lot of those 3-2s happening.
We certainly have, and maybe we see some more of that here tonight, Dryad. However, knowing our next map will be Watch Point Gibraltar, we're probably going to be seeing a little bit more of the Winston that we saw on Nombani, and I can't necessarily say it's a bad choice. The Echoes at least seem to be having a field day with it.
Oh, they are having a lot of fun, and when we go into Gibraltar too, the Winston is something that you can absolutely expect to come through. The Echoes as well, just having those flying heroes to be able to control the high ground from beginning to end. But last time that we saw Shoes Money Crew on this map, when we saw them 2 days ago, they were having a lot of difficulty making anything happen. They couldn't even get out of spawn, so I want to see how they change their strategy going against Wisp this time around.
Well, it seems like Wisp so far, at least for Nombani, have managed to kind of match the compositions that Shoes Money Crew are going to be running. And if you're basing, your statistics off of just what we've seen so far, Shoes Money Crew seems to be running it just a little bit better. I mean, the scoreboard certainly seems to be showing that from Nombani alone. So if it's a mirror matchup, I think Shoes Money Crew doesn't have too much to worry about, given that they've been showing a little bit more proficiency.
And even then, we barely see those mirror matchups, and we talked about it earlier before this match, that we don't see often, but we saw something very similar. I think there was only one difference, where in Umbani first we saw the side of Wisp going with the Mercy, while the side of Shoes Money Crew decided to go with the Break right away. So that was the only difference. Everything else was exactly the same. And like you say, Shoes Money Crew is winning those mirror matches, so that's when you start to wonder, well, Wisp, do you want to bring something else? Do you want to bring something new? And Gibraltar, you kind of have to go to those heroes that can take control of the high ground a little bit easier. It's got to be the Diva, the Winston, probably. When we see those Saryas, even though you have the mobility, you have a lot of damage coming through. It's going to be harder to get the high ground position. It's going to take a couple extra seconds that might cost your team a full fight.
Now, as we do take a little bit of a look, we can go ahead and surmise what Wisp is going to be running. It's not going to be the Echo this time around. It's going to be on Dwari on that Ash, Doomed on the Tracer. But other than that, very similar to what we saw before.
Yeah, like you said, very, very similar. And I like seeing this Shoes Money Crew. They are looking forward to take this 3-0 victory, and they're going to start attacking first. So it's got to be getting those kills. We saw some a couple matches ago where they get 2 instantly. They haven't approached it. I haven't seen before very often, but Wisp, they're trying to also block the damage a little bit more, having Ash.
It'll be interesting to see how these teams interact here now, as we see Shoes Money Crew trying to push up, trying just going up the stairwell. You have wings you can fly, but they're going to decide to save that until they can pop up and just absolutely cluster bomb the side of Wisp, who successfully managed to take Rose out of mech. So it's going to be Shoes Money Crew who's suffering a little bit for that manpower, for that Diva to back Cameron up, really deal a lot of damage. Chime takes a dynamite for their efforts, but able to get back to a health kit, heal themselves up, and right now Shoes Money Crew kind of staggering just a little bit.
Yeah, so this Shoes Money Crew is slowly trying to take control of the high ground, but Wisp, they're not looking forward to let it go just yet. At least trying to build those ultimates first. There's gotta be the Nano coming through for both teams. Source with Light already having a huge advantage.
As We do see a Light very close to getting that nano online. Indeed, we now see Shoes Money Crew starting to take over this high ground, and this might be a dangerous spot for Wisp to just allow Shoes Money Crew to hang out like it's the latest soda pub. As we see them continuing to rain down, Joshua continues to try to contest up towards that blue crate, but can only do so much as a Winston despite all the cleave damage. It's not that bursty. We now see this team dive in. Shoes Money Crew getting aggressive inside server room, takes down Anjwari to start. Time getting hit by a little bit of the tase coming in from Joshua, but now going to be chasing away the rest of Team Wisp as that cart really continuing to move around this first turn.
Just slowly trying to make it happen, and for the side of Shoes Money Crew, almost about to get that first point. The nanos are coming through for the Winston, just trying to finish it up.
That's going to be the Primal Rage coming out from Joshua. They did see that Sleep Dart come out earlier when he was diving at that Brig played by Aspen. As now Wisp continues to hold with their supports down. It looks like Shoes Money Crew is going to try to take a back step, allow the regroup, and just get their heads straight.
Just in time, and in the meantime, the side of Shoes Money Crew, they have a couple ultimates, and when I say a couple, it means a lot of ultimates that they're about to have ready. They have two. It's got to be the duplicate coming through very early on, maybe turning to Winston. I mean, who knows with this echoes, but also the primary rage very soon. Shoes Money Crew should be winning this fight.
We're going to be seeing Bob go deep into the backlines. Light gets taken down early on. The grab goes out from Soko. Everybody able to be caught up in it from Shoes Money Crew. They're going to be dropping the self-destruct in from Rose. It looks like it may have just been used to remech a little bit faster. The Sleep Dart onto Cameron. Cameron immediately woken up in that primal form. Going to be allowing a lot of ult charge to be handed over to the enemy team. Cameron just having to take a back step and allow themselves to get healed up before going back into this fray. Soko building up quite a bit of ult charge despite having just used their grab. Now as we can look, that high ground being held by Anjwari, and the Dynamite's doing its own fair share of work. As now Wisp have managed to push back, and Shoes Money Crew now only have a minute.
This was a very tough fight for the Shoes Money Crew. I mean, they lost Light right at the beginning. They lost Light again before the fight even starts, and even then they decided to commit a lot of ultimates, but they don't have enough heal to stay alive. So now with that, Wisp is going to get the positioning. It's going to give the ultimate advantage as well, and they have this blue box, which is really hard to deal with if you are trying to attack, and you only have 30 seconds remaining.
Only 30 seconds indeed. That's enough for one good push coming in from Shoes Money Crew. As long as they don't lose any members early on, they should be pretty all right. I mean, they have to keep eyes out for Jawari. Taking somebody's head off with that will be brutal, but Aspen going down to a Primal Rage as well will be especially brutal in itself. Light now going to be falling next with no supports. It's looking pretty grim for Shoes Money Crew as that Echo is going to be falling by a little bit of Tesla damage from Joshua. Bob now going to be barreling onto the field, just trying to help, just trying to do anything he can, but no need, Bob. Wisp has it covered.
All about the timing of those ultimates coming from the side of Shoes Money Crew, and it doesn't seem like it was enough for them. Wisp with an amazing hold into first point. They don't let Shoes Money Crew stay in control, and this is what could be the beginning of their comeback. Now they have to play more aggressive, but they don't have to worry too much. 1.5, maybe 2 bites is going to be enough for them to move that payload to where the side of Shoes Money Crew stopped.
Yeah, it's very achievable here for Wisp. We said that on Numbani, but this is even more so. I mean, less than 83 meters, that's cake. That's cake.
And I've seen some very interesting approaches here into the defense for teams, but it's going to be hard for Shoes Money Crew. They can't make any single mistake, and I feel like it really comes down to when they lost Light. And I think this connects to something they saw, I believe, from Aspen on Twitter saying, you know, she was just peeling for Light, and that's how she says they won the game. It was just a lot of peeling into Numbani when they were playing yesterday. So it's really all about that. It's keeping Light alive and making sure that you have those heals. If not, Shoes Money Crew is going to have a lot of difficulty making anything happen. They lost Light twice in a row before the fight even started, and they even then decided to commit those ultimates. So those are the mistakes that you don't want to commit at this level if you want to take that 3-0, which is going to be very difficult, but still possible for this team.
Oh, certainly, and to Wisp's credit, their tanks seem to be doing a great job, particularly Joshua and Doomed, when they get the copy onto that Winston, of just sectioning off that Brig and making Light a little bit easier pickings. But now, as we see Wisp start off with an early kill onto Tracer. Miracle wasn't quite able to find what they were looking for, and because of that, they're going to be out of the fight for the next 8 seconds or so. We'll be able to get back fairly fast because, you know, Tracer can blink, move rather quick herself.
It happens. And in the meantime, I mean, Wisp are just going to take this opportunity. She's money cute. They just want to hold that blue box. They're not going to be holding that full high ground, and that's going to help them out for the side of the attackers to start moving that pick a little bit more in that courage watch.
I see Cameron continuing to just take these peeks, look at that massive bleed damage that can come through. Try to get their ult built up, get hit by a cluster of sticky bombs, but now it's going to be Jishua who goes in rather aggressively, gets stunned out, gets hit by the anti-nade. They couldn't section off the supports at that time, and it really cost them. Both tanks getting hit by the anti-nade. CJ going to be lining up the opportunity there, but there's just nobody to follow up on it for Wisp. With that, they looks like they're going to have to re-stabilize and back out.
One fight is all the Wisp needs, and they are trying to build those ultimates to guarantee the win right away. Chime getting taken down, that is huge. That might be the start of the attackers going in.
It might be, but Cameron getting hit by the nano means that Vega going to be taken down. No res available. Jishua now no main tank available. That is once Doom gets pulled out of that duplicate form, courtesy of those tanks once again. Cameron on the nano boost able to do a lot of damage.
Huge cleanup from Cameron. Like you said, gets 3, and Shoes Money Crew still being able to hold. They are losing members though. First they lose Chime, now they lose Miracle. Like you said, the Tracer being able to come back very, very soon, but that's still any green light that Wisp can take to go in. They have the Nano and they have the Valkyrie to initiate the fight.
They're going to be using both of them to go in. Jishua diving right into server, trying to cause a lot of damage. The pulse bomb goes out. Light taken down. Aspen now taken down, and we've seen what happens when Shoes Money Crew loses their healers. Just begins to fall apart for them. The Primal Rage goes out from Cameron. Has to take a dive back as they're suffering about half health. It's not a spot you want to be in. You don't want to feed more ultimates over. 1.74 meters left for this team. Diva Bomb goes in, doesn't find anything. No, not able to, but it's the melee coming in from Anjwari. His Chime is just flying by, able to get the kill. Now it's going to be the rally coming in from Ras Aspen, trying to make something happen, but not quite able to. As now somebody needs to remain on the cart for Shoes Money Crew. It's going to be the duplicate from Doomed once again, building up that Primal Rage, able to knock anybody away from that point. Doom's going to be taking a little bit of a nap, and coming back in with that Primal, but it looks like Shoes Money Crew hasn't quite gotten the formula figured out yet. They're trying to knock everybody away. The Soldier, or the Ana goes down. Not sure where I got Soldier from, but now we're seeing Wisp get repelled by Shoes Money Crew. So close.
It is so close. 0.40 was all that Wisp had left, and they couldn't win that fight. You saw the Spores getting taken down right at the beginning of the fight. That would have been the indication for Wisp to take the victory, but Aspen came right in time with their rally. Then everyone else came in getting a couple kills to initiate it, and also that protecting for their team. Wisp has one last opportunity here, 40 seconds remaining.
It's going to be the nano boost going on to Jishua, who pops that Primal Rage, taking it down Light. Cameron going to be taking a little bit of a nap, meaning that their Primal Rage is going to be all that less effective. Jishua continuing to try to focus down. Rose Pulse Bomb goes out a little bit wide from Anjwari. Wisp need to come through with some more kills here. Soko getting out of mech, going to make this fight just a little bit slower for them, especially with that rally going out. The Pulse Bomb onto Vega may have just sealed this. Wisp going to struggle so much to even get any progress. Nobody going to be able to get to cart, but they have 10 seconds.
This is going to be hard. With they have one last opportunity, but everyone's getting taken down before even having the opportunity to touch. No one else is going to be available, and Shoes Money Crew, they might just be taking this.
Ooh, and Shoes Money Crew, in fact, will be taking this. That Tracer trying to come into touch, but just getting dealt with too quickly. Shoes Money Crew going to be managing a first point hold, and so much for that cake I was talking about.
Yeah, what a fight that we saw right at the end. Wisp had everything to take the victory there. They won the fight, they took down the supports at the beginning, but they had something that they didn't realize, and is that for the side of Shoes Money Crew, and we talked about it, Shoes Money Crew, they had their rally to use, they had that speed, and they had that armor to stay alive for a couple of seconds, allowing Cameron to get those kills and to push everyone away. And by the time that was over, everyone else for the Shoes Money Crew was ready, was getting those kills. They made that cleanup happen, and because the fights were so long, it completely denied any sort of opportunity for Wisp. So Shoes Money Crew, they take it 3-0.
Yeah, they're going to be pretty happy about that, adding a nice little bump to their map differential, which does come into effect should there be, you know, some win-loss ties going into consideration. But overall, a very good performance coming in from Shoes Money Crew. Wisp gave it their all. They put in a great defense. It just wasn't quite enough.
Yeah, and for the side of West, they're not too worried about it just yet because then this is only the second match that they play here in Trials. They still have more opportunities. Well, for Shoes Money Crew, this was their third match, so they definitely needed that win to guarantee that they could keep that momentum for the matches to come.
Certainly, and we will be grabbing a brief word with somebody from Shoes Money Crew on the other end of this break, so stick around, folks. Overwatch Contenders Trials continues after this. Hello, folks. Welcome. We are back, and perhaps the most important welcome to Cameron, going to be coming in here for a brief little interview. Cameron, hello, welcome.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Going well, and perhaps most importantly, congratulations. Know that was a pretty dominant victory, at least in terms of the scoreboard over your opponents in Wisp. But let's get on to the meat and potatoes of this here interview. And when I say meat and potatoes, I've been told to ask you the most important questions, such as, what is your favorite color?
I don't know, green, I guess? Green?
Good choice. Good choice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, hey, green is also my favorite color. Anyway, so tell me, I have one question for you, and is that when we saw you guys play 2 days ago on the first day of trials, you were having a lot of difficulty with your team to try to keep that momentum going. There were a couple fights that looked messy, but today you definitely corrected those mistakes. You looked like a completely different team. So what happened behind the scenes for this to happen?
Yeah, I think the week before trials leading up to it, we had a really rough week. I think we came out of our honeymoon days as a new team, which usually happens quite early. And honestly, it's lucky for us that it happened so early and during scrims because we're out of it now and we're just destroying everyone. But the thing about Ardor is I think they're a perfect like matchup for us. Like they just counter us perfectly. Like they're comps, and honestly, we didn't adapt very well in the day. And I think going into it in the future, we'll probably adapt a bit better because we're still learning the meta as it's kind of new.
Yeah, and that actually really comes to my second question, which is the meta. We've seen a lot of things kind of depending more on the map rather than a general meta that kind of applies to every single map. But what do you guys feel that it works best for your team from the matches that we saw from you this past 3 days?
I don't want to look too much, of course, but I think at the moment everyone's kind of discovering the meta a little bit. It's kind of changing a bit, shifting, and people are just playing what they're comfortable on. So we're playing a lot of things we're comfortable on. For example, Cham's comfortable in Echo, he likes that hero, and we're also comfortable in Brawl in certain situations.
Yeah.
So if a team gives us the Brawl mirror, we'll happily take it and, polish them.
Well, fantastic. I think we saw a little bit of a pretty well done success story coming out here from Shoes Money Crew tonight, and overall I think you guys have to be pretty pleased about your overall experiences here against Wisp. Before we do let you go, I do just want to give you the quick opportunity to give any shout outs you feel might be deserved.
Yeah, I want to shout out my girlfriend, my IRL friends, Ben, Oliver, Luis, all those boys, and my teammates, of course, and the coaches.
All right, well, fantastic. Cameron, once again, thank you for coming on here, and in case you haven't heard it enough, congratulations.
Thank you.
And with that, Dryad, we keep our eyes towards the horizon. Wisp versus Shoes Money Crew is over, but we are not done with our Contenders trial broadcast for today. No, we will be moving on to Malice versus Drifters just after this break, folks, so stick around. Hello and welcome back, folks. We are ready to head into our second matchup of the evening. Malice versus Drifters. Sir Waltham and Dryad, in case you missed it the first time around, here for North America Contenders Trials. Ready to get into it, and we're going to be starting once again on Nepal, Dryad.
Yeah, absolutely. No surprises here. It's going to be a little bit about that same map. But what's going to be different this time around is going to be seeing those two teams going against each other. And it's a similar scenario as well to what we saw on the last match. One of the teams already having played 2 matches, the other one only 1. So for the Malice, they're absolutely trying to get the victory to get the positive record going on as soon as possible. And Drifters, they're also trying to get that 2-0 on the match core as soon as possible and try to qualify for Contenders.
Yeah, both of these teams going to be looking pretty solid so far, but there's an entire set of games ahead of us that might change that perception, or at least change the perception of which one is better as we look ahead. Again, in our previous match, Wisp versus Shoes Money Crew, we saw maps that had very defined kind of compositions to them, Numbani, Gibraltar. I'm wondering if we're going to see that with these two teams again, or if we're going to see something a little bit different, something a little bit more fitting to their tastes.
Yeah, I mean, we might be seeing a little bit of that difference, especially when Malice is going to be playing, because they mentioned this on the interview, and this is something that we can notice, and is that you look at the roster for Malice, and they have so many DPS players that are so talented. Last time we saw a little bit of my Crazy Cat playing the Reaper Tree on the Tracer and the Hanso Foreshadow inside. Also, both of them being able to play that Echo, so they have a lot of possibilities to bring, and they're not really worried about any map because you have those DPS that you can count on. While on the other hand, I want to see what Drifters is going to do, because they have also a very strong roster, but I'm curious to see how flexible it can be depending on maybe they go to a map that they don't feel as comfortable with.
Yeah, and it's important to note here, or at least I feel it's important to note here, that Drifters, they've only played 1 game. They didn't play yesterday. They played on Monday, but they weren't on stream. So they may be keeping things a little bit closer to the chest. The only people who have seen their comps firsthand would have been Obey Alliance. So that may be a little bit of a wild card as we head into these next few games.
And even then, I mean, when we look at Drifters, they also have some very interesting supports and some that they recognize from prior events that we've had. I recognize Neptune, for example, on the support line, and what they've done in the past is so interesting that this meta, and also as we heard in that last interview from Cameron, this meta is kind of going everywhere just because everyone is playing through their strengths. So while it sets a little bit more, we see a little bit of rush, a little bit of dive coming through. We, for example, didn't see any wrecking balls in the last match, but on Monday we saw a lot of that wrecking ball being played. So that's when you start seeing those differences, and that's when you have to rely on how comfortable your team is with the composition that you're going to be playing. And I believe it's going to be a very interesting match just because of this.
Yeah, I guess it kind of puts the concept of comfort picks into a different light here, but worth noting, Drifters, they have that synergy. We've known them to be a team for, or at least we've known them to have their core operating as a team for quite a while. It's definitely been more than a few months, I would say. So they may have a little bit of that synergy going on, although the same can kind of be said for Malice. We talked about it last time, where a lot of their roster comes from Susanoo. So there's kind of already a blend of these two teams having been established as a unit.
Yeah, absolutely, because when we saw Drifters coming to live for the first time, it was a very different roster. We saw different players, and now they've changed a lot, but they're still managing to stay on top, at least here in Trials. They have to define it yet again, but like you said, it's going to be close. I think Malice, they have the possibility of playing a lot of different DPS to see what's going to work best, but we see that they will be starting out with Sai and my Crazy Cat again for the first map, and a little bit of the similar composition that we've seen before.
And I love the opportunity that we're going to be seeing My Crazy Cat come out here. We saw them just for this same map on Monday, and then they got put pretty much back onto the bench just to hang out and chill and watch their team perform. But now we get to see them once again coming in here, and we're going to be seeing now Drifters and Malice both looking to meet each other in that mid zone. Once again, Malice going to be taking up that early possession of the middle ground. Now looking to push very quickly, but the Maywall comes up. My Crazy Cat using those fan the hammers to try to break through it. Flashbang going out, and with that, Crimson gonna get stunned out, allowing for the opening to really come through here from Drifters, especially as we can see Ship's shield coming in from Sigma, already looking dangerously low. Nobody really going up onto point directly, though, as now Psy's gonna be taken down. Crawl, he taken out of the fight. And with this, Malice getting a couple kills in their favor, but a couple's all they're gonna need. No! The double kill coming in from Neptune. I spoke way too soon. The double kill coming in. They have just absolutely turned things for Drifters, especially since they lost members first, which means they're going to be getting the first reinforcements. Psy coming in on the Doomfist, manages to take down one, pushes Drifters into the small corridor. Malice has luckily been able to get the point in their favor and taking it up, but its question remains, how long can they manage this?
Yeah, I mean, I saw those boobs happening almost in slow motion. They both go taken down, but now Drifters trying to capitalize out of this. A lot of ultimates coming through, including those dragons trying to isolate. And slowly but surely, Drifters, they take control of the point. They have a couple ultimates to go on. And Malice, they have to make it reset. It was just the initiation of that boob that what really made a difference there.
It really did. Drifters able to carry a lot of that momentum move forward, but still 29% for Malice. That's not bad.
Yeah, they do manage to get some percentage, and now Drifters is going to push forward, is going to try to not give any sort of space to Malice. They do have the Shatter to initiate, well, a Cash is going to be close to it just yet.
As we now see the tanks going head-to-head once again, it's going to be the D.Va who can eat those fire strikes, so giving themselves a real opportunity to get a lot of advantage here. Blizzard goes out from Rocket trying to lock everybody down, but Crimson is hit by the flashbang, managing to keep themselves alive by a hair. Psy has to use that Meteor Strike just to keep themselves safe, get up out of harm's way. Angelic getting another boop onto Rocket. These Lucios are finding some absolute value here with this. Malice able to take possession of point and get the flip.
Good comeback for Zeta Malice, with almost no ultimates being used so far. Now they will be playing aggressive, they will be doing the same as Drifters tried to do before, but Drifters, it seems like they like to try to play a little bit more aggressive right at the end. They had the Shatter, they also have a couple ultimates, especially with the support to try to take the advantage, but now the ultimate economy absolutely going for Zeta Malice, and they don't want to give them any sort of space here.
We're certainly gonna not, and they're gonna make that all that much more difficult with the amplification matrix, but the dragon's sweeping right through that matrix, making it so hard for anybody on Malice to stand on that small platform. My Crazy Cat taking a bit of damage, getting booped off, getting knocked off rather. Now, as we can see, it's Crawley trying to buy as much time as they can. They're gonna be ejected from that D.Va mech, buying just a few seconds before Drifters go.
Point is just going back and forth between these two teams, and it's all about that ultimate economy that we can see. Drifters still waiting for that Shatter to be used. Malice in the meantime trying to regain that momentum, trying to come back slowly. Both of the Shatters are going to be available, most likely used until the next fight, and that's really what's going to allow the teams to get to 90%.
We see Angelic drop the sound barrier, keeping 4 members alive, but My Crazy Cat not able to survive, both sinking the headshot. And a couple members from Drifters able to get some kills towards Malice, but the numbers so far overall working for the team in green right now. As we can see, the Increase trying to come out from Ship, getting booped off. Doesn't have the ability to get back up once they've fallen, and just like that, Malice sticks closer to Drifters.
It keeps going back and forth, but now Malice, they are the ones in control of the point. They're going to pass that 81 that Drifters had at the beginning. In Drifters, they don't really have any ultimate just yet to use. They have the amplification, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be enough, especially on this point, especially when they're attacking Malice. They do have the Shatter still to use.
Let me seeing another amplification matrix come out, this time from the side of Drifters. Malice able to clear the way, though, make sure that they're not taken under too much threat. Ship taking quite a bit of damage, getting booped by the D.Va, receiving quite a bit of shields. The Meteor Strike coming in from Psy, going to be trying to land big right onto the Baptiste. Doesn't quite connect, however, the punches do. The point is going to be ticking upwards to 100, and with that, Malice the first point on the bunny, or on the ball.
Malice, every time that they are losing a fight, you can count on My Crazy Cat going Reaper and getting that initial kill. That's exactly what we saw in the last fight. Allowed them to take control of the point yet again to get that 99 to 100%. And they take the advantage yet again. Drifter, they had some really good initiations. It was going back and forth, which is not something that we see very often. But we saw a lot of ultimates that weren't used from the beginning. I saw Crimson trying to hold that Shatter for a very long time. And those are times where you have to play aggressive, you have to commit. Sometimes it's not going to connect, but you have to take the risk to see if you can take the advantage against Malice. We're not going to stop here.
Certainly doesn't look like they're intending on stopping anytime soon, as now we head on to this next map, looking to get very aggressive for both these teams, taking up some immediate point presence. However, the pathing a little bit different for both sides. My Crazy Cat trying to teleport in deep, using that Wraith form to tuck themselves in right behind the tanks, but can't quite connect with those meaty shots that they absolutely need to get some health recovery. Akash, however, going to take down Crimson. Rocket next to fall. And with this, Drifters looking like they are in a rough spot. That Reaper getting a bit too aggressive with the teleport cry, able to just tick away at Boat's health using those long-range pellets. This is going to go in favor of Malice.
Yeah, the kill difference here, allowing Malice to take the advantage. A couple more kills coming from the side of Drifters, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be enough. And with that, they were also able to build that ultimate, that amplification matrix. They do have to wait for Slugger to come back, but they're not worried about it just yet. As Drifters, they also have to take their time.
Are going to have to take just a little bit of time. Sluggo will be able to come back with that amplification matrix so they can just set up to amplify and make that entryway a firing range if they so desire. It looks like Malice not going to be opting into that just yet. We now will be seeing it go into action. Akash has the Earth Shatter, going to be waiting for it. The boop goes out, lands onto the Baptiste. Looks like the may have been going for the health kit. Couldn't quite connect on it though. Akash going in with the counter charge. Both tanks falling because of that. And with this, it looks like Malice going to continue ticking up 35%.
Yeah, my Crazy Cat just getting those kills with Reaper, the usual that we can expect from Malice every single time. Just slowly trying to build that Death Blossom as well. Very interesting fight happening on the side, it seems like. In the meantime, but Drifter, they haven't been able to get control of the point. They have the flux to initiate, but it can get directly counter as well if Angelic is able to build that sound barrier. So it's going to be difficult for Drifter. They ideally need to build a couple more ultimates, including that Blizzard, to take the advantage here.
Keep in mind, Angelic did just die, so they lost a little bit of healing that they could have done with that Lucio, and right now we see the Gravitic Flux come online. Angelic has the sound barrier, drops it at just the right moment, and Crimson goes down first. It's going to be the Earthshatter trying to come out, doesn't quite connect Akash. Now quick to be cleaned up, probably going to be eating the Blizzard of Rocket, then Rocket taken down immediately with a turnaround by side. Diva Bomb goes out, destroying that Sigma barrier, but it doesn't look like it's going to quite be enough. Now, at this point, we're just playing for side to build time off the clock, and then tagging in for Angelic.
Oh, and the Blizzard is going to be used.
It's going to be a big Blizzard opportunity coming in here. Skyward being shielded by Crimson on their team. The Immortality Field going to be coming out, but now we're seeing more and more tanks come online. The contest happens at the very last moment. Crimson dangerously low gets cleaned up by Angelic. Malice now in a very good spot. It looked very questionable for them for just a moment. Amplification Matrix is going to come out, but Pote puts on the pressure with Gahanzo getting 3 kills in their favor. Drifters may have just bought themselves a reprieve.
99, and that is exactly what Malice wanted to do. Now they just have to build those last ultimates and try to attack again. Drifters is going to have a difficult time here if they are not able to build the ultimate economy of their own. They do have the amplification matrix, so it's going to be the opposite scenario that we saw before. Using that amplification matrix to deny that space, to delay that push from Malice. But this is something that Malice can wait for, so that is when it gets more difficult. They can simply wait for that amplification matrix to go down before attacking and making sure that they're staying alive.
See Malice going for a little bit of underground routing, or at least interior routing. The amplification matrix is going to be coming out from Skyward. However, most of Malice able to make the rotations where that's not really a huge threat coming in. My Crazy Cat, however, just going to be walking right through the front of it, has that Death Blossom, and with that going to be dropping it, trying to deal tons of damage, takes down one. The sound barrier coming out just a bit late from Neptune. Skyward, Neptune, and Boat all trying to do a little bit of stalling. This point goes in Malice's favor. It's looking very possible for them to take this map. It does. Overtime going to start ticking down side, clipping Neptune out of the air. And with this, it looks like overtime does burn. Malice manages to take first map.
Malice looking really good so far. They made the changes. They were able to always have the ultimate economy and to always initiate with those kills, and that's what allowed them to take the advantage here. Drifters, they were looking close, but it seems like they were having they were struggling a lot. It depended more on the DPS to try to swap those fights that they were losing. Like we saw, the Hands were getting 3 kills. That's what really allowed them to take control of the point. But every other time, it was just Malice taking that initial kill. Even when we saw my Crazy Cat on McCree getting some kills at the beginning, then swapping into Reaper, and even with that Death Blossom at the end, there was nothing that Drifters could have done.
You're absolutely right about that, Dryad. At least for the second round, I think a lot of the first round that we saw was defined by some crazy Lucio boops. We saw some pretty good point flips come out just because we saw some really good concussive boops going into the pit, allowing one, even multiple kills at a couple points.
And we didn't see, we saw that boop, and we also saw those kills coming from the hands from both. What really made the difference, because everyone else was kind of getting 1 kill, 2 kills, and everyone just kind of trying to make it a little bit more even for their team. So it was Malice and that team effort what was being highlighted more. I'm not the biggest fan of seeing Doomfist, but seeing this Doomfist being played from beside of Malice and getting so much value, even at the end when they got that Lucio, was huge for this team to just keep building those ultimates in the meantime, keep putting their damage in.
And I mean, it makes sense. We oftentimes see a lot of Doomfist on assault maps where, one of the DPS players has already died. They need to get to point quickly. And that's basically what we saw during that first sub-map, during Sanctum in Nepal, right? We saw one player go down, but the fight wasn't won in one direction or another. So they just needed that Doomfist to come in, get there fast. I believe we did see a switch off from Psy onto the Doomfist, so I don't believe they started off on it. But either way, the logic there checks out, and it seems to have worked out perfectly well for him.
And the question is if we're going to be seeing the same from Malice as we saw 2 days ago, where we saw a DPS lineup being played on the first map and then they completely changed it around, even when they were playing the same heroes, even when they were still playing that Reaper. So I want to say their approach here, I want to say if they make a couple changes. My Crazy Cat, like you said last time, we only saw this player on that first map, and then we didn't really see them again. So this might be an approach that, they have such a stacked roster that they can play whatever they want and whoever they want.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to make it seem like it's random or like they're just throwing ingredients together, but it seems so far a little bit harder to predict exactly why they're putting in who they're putting in, which makes it harder to anticipate who they're putting in, when they're putting them in, right? Like I tried asking them a little bit of questions, prodding at them, seeing what I could figure out from the Malice team early on in the week, and they didn't really give me a whole lot of anything. They kept it real close to the chest, and always got to keep your opponents guessing. Kind of like it.
Yeah, they definitely didn't want to tell us that, and that is what makes it so interesting to see if they're going to bring a surprise that we haven't seen before, if they're going to bring a little bit about the same. I think when it comes to trials especially, and on the current state of Overwatch, everyone wants to play a different meta, and if you're comfortable enough with different compositions, if you're comfortable with a rush, with a dive as well, then you can kind of adapt to the enemy team, see what they're going to be bringing if you want to mirror it, and if you can win that mirror, more importantly.
Yeah, and we are getting word that we do have our next map locked and loaded. It is going to be Gibraltar. So the second map we'll have seen today, the second time we'll have seen Gibraltar today. And it looks like we will be seeing some more perhaps Winston dives, something we didn't necessarily get to see as much at all on Nepal. It was a lot more of the Reinhardt swing style.
Yeah, a little bit more of Winston being brought in. But even then, when I think of Malice, I think of how much they like playing that rush. And even if it's not the rush that you would be expecting of the classic Reinhardt, Zarya, and everyone else, the Mei, the Reaper, they bring this sort of hybrid rush that works perfectly for them. So it's not out of the picture to see them kind of mixing it around, maybe bringing a Reaper in, maybe bringing the Echo while they're also playing the rush for the side with tanks. And like I said, they have a lot of that communication that seems to be going so well for them that they're not worried about it.
And we will be getting to look at exactly how these DPS lineups are going to match up. No Psy this time around. It's going to be Tree and Foreshadow for the side of, I believe that's supposed to be Malice. But as we look ahead here, some interesting compositions. We'll see these rosters drop in just a few seconds.
Yeah, Tree coming in now and Foreshadow. So changing completely their DPS line. Foreshadow Malice. And Tree, I've said it a couple times that I love seeing this player. I've seen him in so many teams, and they're so talented. They get kills when no one is expecting them to. Last time I was a little bit worried because when Malice was looking down was when they saw when they went through a couple changes halfway through the map, when it was a little bit too late to try to build those ultimates. So I want to say if they maybe make those changes happen as soon as possible, or if they stay and commit to that composition from beginning to end, they are of course attacking first. So on the other side, Drifters, we already know that secure composition. A little bit more of what we talked about is going to be the Winston Zarya, the double bubble yet again.
Gonna be the Sims setting up a teleporter, just getting everybody up onto this high ground bridge as they can. Ship eating an anti-nade. Foreshadow going to be absolutely closing on that, allowing for a good opening for the team of Malice, as now Drifters are going to be struggling to get themselves stabilized. They're going to back off and try to regroup in the server room.
Just slowly making it happen inside of Malice, trying to take control of the high ground. We know is a key here to get first point in Gibraltar. And they started also moving that payload, which is so important. In the meantime, Drifters just waiting a couple seconds, ready for that dive.
The C4 Shadow taking up a nice high ground position, able to get that dynamite in, build up closer and closer to a Bob. One thing Malice wants to try to avoid is that first point cap that we saw the first game of tonight. Gonna be that Zarya bubble going on to Winston as the dive comes in, preventing him from getting knocked back, meaning that he's gonna be able to get a little bit more cleave damage in for the time being. Dynamite sent out from Foreshadow, can't quite find anything with it though. And with this now, Cry gonna be looking to lean into the server room, get some real damage done. And these Anas are going to be looking very close to some nano boost. Keep eyes on Skyward as it does go out immediately onto Crimson. Going to be tasing everybody in the backline. Chip getting a kill. 3 assists courtesy of that in there. And now it looks like Drifters able to stabilize, able to get themselves set up. The nano boost on the Cry going to be coming in a little bit late, but it's going to be netting a few kills. Going to be keeping both of those tanks alive. The Ana eventually getting clobbered. Akash not able to walk away. Neither's Cry.
Everyone was going so low from the side of Drifters, but managing to stay alive and with that Malice. In the meantime, starting to move that payload a little bit more, but that position is going to keep benefiting Drifters, and almost about to have that EMP is going to be huge for them. Just apply their absolute win condition here, while Malice, you're just trying to get control of that positioning again.
As we see, Tree has that duplicate form online. We heard the Sleep Dart go out, didn't quite connect with anything. As we can see now, Boat just trying to stay on cart, trying to contest for as long as possible, buy as much time as they can. Tree actually going in with the duplicate onto the Zarya. Not an unfamiliar pick, but a little bit risky as they are unable to get the grab, and with that, Malice has to take the back.
Good ultimates coming through for the side of Drifters, denying any sort of space that Malice is trying to take. They're trying to take control of the high ground, but they are completely denied over and over again. Now Malice, though, they do have their rally to initiate the hide. They also have the Bob to try to contest the point a little bit more, and that is exactly what they're looking forward to do, at least in the high ground.
See Malice eat a little bit of an anti-nade there, Skyward landing it, and because of that, they're almost going to have that nano up once again, be keeping eyes towards Crimson as that nano boost comes online. Good opportunity here. Boat still has the nano, going to be connecting it big. Bob goes out, but without the rest of their team to follow up because they are disabled by that EMP. It's going to make Bob just a little bit more ineffective. The bubble gets placed right in front of Bob, meaning that his line of sight is cut off to most of the Drifters team. And despite losing their Sombra, Drifters are going to be stabilizing, not suffering too much.
The ultimates that Malice had available were completely denied as that EMP connected with the Zarya and with the Brig. Not able to use that rally to try to keep the team alive and to have that extra armor. But now, they're able to use it.
The rally does come online, Angelic allowing their team to just build up a ton of that armor that's going to be incredibly good against this laser-based composition. The grab goes out, Chip going to be able to get that projected barrier off, but Akash doesn't care if they're able to just tear that barrier away from them and their teammate. Now, as we can see, the tank's doing a lot of lifting here for Malice, Tree, and Foreshadow, just trying to keep that continual threat up from the skies.
Finally, the cleanup that Malice was waiting for, and with that Foreshadow now swapping into the McCree, trying to get the stuns going as well, especially for the Tracer that can be so destructive from the side of Drifters. And also trying to get that Sombra, so I do like the approach from the side of Malice. They have a couple ultimates to use very soon, including that duplicate, and that primary rage very good to initiate the next fight and to keep that momentum into the high ground again.
As well, worth noting, we're seeing Foreshadow come in on the McCree, the opportunity for a flashbang onto the Sombra, onto the Tracer, and make things very difficult here. We see Foreshadow, in fact, keeping eyes towards the ground as they do see a couple of those flanker characters. That Winston going dangerously low, Pulse Bomb goes out, Sluggo eventually has to drop because of that. But that looks like Rocket may have done the work that they needed. Tree going to be going in for the duplicate with the Primal, but can only do so much, eventually getting pulled out of that duplicate form. Drifter so far finding some success at home. This has just been a soft reset.
Yeah, just as reset trying to happen, it seems like the duplicate not really getting a lot of value from the set of Malice, but they are getting the kills. Skyward getting taken down, that means no main kills for the side of Drifters. And as once again, everyone trying to go back and stay alive for the next fight.
Crimson is able to be taken down, and now we see Rocket on that Tracer trying to jump around again, getting a little bit of contest. This is death by 1,000 cuts if they're able to stall off the cart for long enough, just using that one Tracer bobbing in and out. Nano now going on the ship, trying to build up that last 4% now that they need to grab. They do have it, be looking to get them to send it out. They do, but dangerously low, receives the healing nade, going to keep them alive. Nano Boost going out with the EMP, or rather the Rally going out with the EMP. Boat gonna be collapsing upon a couple members of Malice, but Malice able to back up, stabilize, not losing any members.
The payload and moving back with Malice, you're not wasting any time. The Nano's going to be used, trying to put that pressure into Drifter, especially into the high ground, trying to distract him a little bit more from the damage coming through.
Foreshadow able to find one with the Deadeye. Gonna be given a boost of life from their team. The Brig Shield, the Whip, and the Ana Nade's gonna be healing them up in a very fast and rapid fashion. Trying to touch cart is a Boat. Can't quite make it happen for too long. 1:50 left on the clock for Malice.
This seems like it's going to be enough time, but it might be going to the overtime run at the end. They have a couple ultimates that they need to be very careful about how they're going to use them. Last time we saw Tree using that duplicate, they didn't get a lot of value that they wanted. It seems like it was a little bit early into the fight. And now using the duplicate along with the Rally just to put pressure into the backline of Drifters is the approach that they're looking forward to do.
Taking a little bit of a nap, will be able to awaken without too much issue. Going to be sending out a cluster of bombs as well. Finding a little bit of damage, but not too much. Not able to get the duplicate off as well. Sluggo getting taken down, Rocket getting 2 kills into this fight. Means Malice invested that Rally for what's looking like a losing situation here, Dryad.
Oh, it's getting difficult. There's not a lot of space to go with, and with that, it's going to be Drifters the one taking the advantage here. Crimson gets 2, and they also take that positioning again, the high ground, with a couple of ultimates to use. Less than a minute remaining for the side of Malice. They didn't use a lot of ultimates into the last fight, but they did waste that Rally.
Did feel like a little bit of a waste, but Drifters will be certainly a little bit content with that. Ship going to be taking a nap. Can't quite be connected with by that anti-nade, though not really much Malice gets for their efforts in that venture. We see the Tree go in high on that duplicate Winston, trying to build up that Primal Rage. Does get it successfully as well. Now going to be committed to getting that Tree locked down in a grab, but Tree able to walk away, doesn't come out of that duplicate all that worse for wear, and distracted a lot of the team of Drifters, meaning that cart's going to be able to continue to move along. Tree gets the nano boost, but it's going to be an attack visor from Boat, looking to counter that Echo play. Not able to find too much as Boat, instead just sending a couple Helix rockets down the main lane, trying to make whatever happens happen. Now Rocket getting taken out one by one. It looks like Malice begins to fall here. Looks like they may not make it to that 3rd point of Gibraltar, but Drifters continue to dive back, taking down Sluggo. Crimson diving in a little bit deep, going in for the melee and a pounce. Crimson dangerously low, knows that Tree's going to have to eventually drop into the bubble and they can just jump out. Wrecking Ball just stalling out for as long as possible, but it's not possible for long.
Yeah, it is not going to be enough, and Malice not able to complete their attack. Drifters with a really good defense right at the end, also taking advantage of how much time they wasted from the beginning of the map on the side of Malice. I mean, they started out, they were winning a couple fights, and that is exactly what you need to do. The worst thing that can happen in this map is for the enemy team that is attacking to have 3 minutes, 5 minutes remaining at the end, because it gets a little bit more difficult for the defense. But Drifters, they were wasting a lot of time from the side of Malice, and they allow them to, they completely deny that completion of the map. So now Malice, it's not going to be easy, but they have gotten some really good moments. it's just all about those ultimates that are being used. We saw, like you said, the rally, not really connecting, the duplicate not getting a lot of value. It seems like the timing of those things just wasn't quite right.
Yeah, especially when it came to, in particular, that rally that you mentioned coming in just a bit too late after 2 members had already dropped. That's an ugly situation that the Drifters are going to keep capitalizing upon if they get the chance.
It starts with the first point. We saw in that last match too. It's all about that first point and how much you want to fight for the high ground, for that blue box that is so important for any team. Malice is going to start taking control a bit with the same composition that we saw before. Nothing new, nothing really surprising here. But Drifters, I'm curious to see the Sombra once again being played.
Yeah, this time I'm going to be using it a little bit on the defensive side of things. We didn't see that Sombra seem to focus down too many members, just be that constant threat anytime anybody thought that there may be a vulnerability. That Sombra going to be looking out for them. Cry almost catching out that Sombra, dancing right on top of their heads, but not quite finding it indeed. Angelic and Foreshadow going to be eating a nice anti-nade coming in from Skyward. Seems to land those fairly reliably, but with this, it looks like it's going to have to be the soft reset coming in from Malice, or rather not. Rocket gets taken down by Angelic. You have to be very careful if your Tracer going up against that Brig. He got nerfed a while back, but still be pretty efficient against those flanker characters, and Drifters just take the time to recollect themselves.
Tree trying to build a duplicate as soon as possible, just with the poke damage also coming through over and over again. Almost passing the 60% there. There it is, Malice. This is their win condition so far.
Let's see if they can find it. Tree takes down Neptune, meaning that Brig's not going to be able to shield bash, not going to be able to whip flail, and not going to be able to heal the rest of their team. Drifters now holding up in this survey room, or in the server room, rather, as Malice take up this high ground. Drifters still have to continue to try to push up, get that cart moving, but looks like they're a little bit reluctant with Malice's presence.
Yeah, they're playing this very carefully. They don't want to get taken down too early, but they also don't want to use those ultimates in vain. So Malice is going for a very careful approach here with Drifters. They're going to initiate with the Nano.
Malice does have that duplicate online, and once again we're seeing the Zarya come out. We see that Winston try to push forward. Tree managing to get a lot of charge here. If they're able to get the grab out, it would be huge. They are not, however, as Tree's gonna land the shots on the Crimson, but take themselves out with their cluster bombs. Unfortunate performance there. Yeah, production, get a good view of that. As now Cry trying to just buy a little bit of time on point. Baby Diva form. EMP goes out. Cry not going to be able to re-mech for the near foreseeable future. A big healing nade coming in from Sluggo, though. Not going to do too much of the damage. Just overwhelming from Drifters.
Yeah, a lot of damage that was coming through really would allow Drifters to open the doors, going into second point, and also taking that positioning. Malice once again going for the same approach of second that we saw them do on the attack. No Foreshadow on the McCree, while everyone else is trying to build that positioning, trying to initiate that fight with the Primal Rage and with the Nano yet again.
These Drifters holding up on the interior of the ship while Malice hold up on the top of it. Although the Drifters do have one member who's currently trying to push cart, so Malice has at least a pseudo-man advantage if they just forego that cart. However, it looks like the team will be able to regroup as that stairwell gets taken up. Akash gets hit with the shield bash, the whip shot backwards. Now with the grab going out from ship, this looks like it might be Malice's opportunity to drop here. As Akash just hangs out, continues scouting. They can't really do too much here. They can't push inside that area. They can't help the rest of their team out. They go in for the dive but get knocked away, swatted like a fly, then slept in the backlines. This is turning horrific for the side of Malice.
Yeah, taking down one by one. A couple kills coming from the side of Drifters, but it seems like they are making that comeback using the Primal Reach through Malice.
Akash going to be getting hacked, left, taken out of every single form that they can. It's going to be the cart reaching second point. 4.5 minutes left for Drifters.
And that Winston could have touched the point for a little bit longer, delay that next push from Drifters, but really good sleep connecting, just completely denied that possibility. The Diva also going really low when Drifter is able to win that payload with a lot of time remaining into third, and this is what Malice is fearing. They have a couple ultimates to use, but it might not be enough, especially when you have both already building and having that EMP.
We keep eyes ahead. Malice setting up for a big opportunity. Foreshadow just dropping a high noon right in the middle of the field because of that rocket able to line up. An easy pulse bomb The EMP hits 5 members of Malice, who are sure to be cleaned up after this cry. We're going to read that they have the Diva Bomb online. Sluggo just trying to land a few shots, build up their Nano as soon as possible.
Yeah, really good EMP connecting to almost all members of the side of Malice. A couple more teams that might be coming from Relic, but I feel like it's even too late for them.
Things that might come around. It's going to be the grab that comes out. Diva Bomb gets locked into the grab. Self Bubble going to be coming out for Shift, keeping them alive. And now with the hack onto Tree, there's not much they can do but just suffer in silence. Trying to take up to the sky, but eventually cleaned up by the Sombra SMG. Cart barely able to be contested, not even, as a matter of fact, and Drifters are going to take Gibraltar.
1-1. It seems like it's going to be a long series between these two teams, Drifters and Malice. Malice looking so strong, but Drifters steal the second map. And we got the signs that this is how it's going to go down from that first control map, where it was just going back and forth over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a little bit of what I like to call a ping-pong match here, Dryad. Definitely neither team being counted out just yet. Malice winning the first, Drifters winning the second. We'll see if we continue that pattern after this break, folks. So we will be back. Stick around for more Overwatch Contenders Trials. 1 point for Malice, 1 point for Drifters. Can I make it any more obvious? This is a tied up match so far here at Overwatch Contenders Trials. We are ready to bring it to you going into our next map. Don't quite have word of what it is just yet, but Dryad, so far these teams going tooth and nail.
Yeah, it seems it's going to be interesting, and because we think of Drifters as a very strong team, but Malice also, but for completely different reasons. And they are slowly building that momentum, but I mean, Drifters just won that last map, so maybe they're a little bit more warm up for what's going to come next.
Yeah, of course, it may be just a situation, as you said, of knocking off the cobwebs, coming back in, you know, getting that confidence, that swagger in as they head towards their opponent in Malice, as they get a little bit more familiar, a little bit more comfortable. Something I feel that casters in general don't talk a lot about is, like, you know, the familiarity you have with the enemy team, and you know how sometimes, you know, a game or two can be enough to start to recognize the patterns that your opponents take.
And yeah, and sometimes we hear often during interviews where a team loses the first map and they win the rest. So when we ask them what's up with that first map, they say they were just kind of warming up. And then a lot of teams have those warm-up matches before the official matches start, but that doesn't mean like it's going to be enough. So we might be seeing a case of this, maybe not, but next map is going to be in Hanamura.
Ooh, next map in Hanamura, a map we haven't seen yet today, and I don't believe we saw it earlier on Monday as well, Dryad. So excited to see these two teams go up against one another. Very excited to see if Mei comes into play here. Maybe some sim teleporter sneak strats, something you know, maybe a little bit off the book. Yeah.
Yep. No one is going to see them coming. I mean, Hanamura, we haven't seen it very often here in trials, and it's going to be interesting for teams, just because making this decision means that you're very confident about your defense. You know that you can hold the defense from first and second point, and this is something that can be very difficult for a couple of teams. So I do like this approach, especially when you have Malice with a lot of those DPS being able to get those angles, having really good hands, really good echo, really good I can't keep going. I could just keep going here. But they have so many good things for a defense. Same approach for the side of Drifters. I think they would rely a little bit more on those tanks and having a lot of support, controlling a lot of space. So we have these two different approaches for the teams. I'm curious to see how they can actually make them happen as we go into the map.
Yeah, and of course, you know, we talk about Malice here, and the question becomes, as it's been lately, who do they bring out, right? Because that alone could influence the complexion of this map, the complexion of, you know, what we might expect to see be run here. But we will be taking a quick little look, and it's going to be Tree and Psy. So a little bit of a change up on the DPS line.
Yeah, we do have that one change. So Tree is going to stay in for this next map. Well, foreshadow, we won't be seeing this player anymore for what is going to be a Hanamura side. Also a really good player, and they have that flexibility, I think, with the different approaches that they're going to be taking when they start on the defense, and already going for something very interesting. So no shields that are going to be available. Is going to be Wrecking Ball, Diva, Torbjorn, and Echo. So yeah, definitely not something that we would be expecting, but I'm very curious to see what they can do with it.
Yeah, they may be expecting an Echo of their own, which is why they bring the Torbjorn out. That turret can just lock on to anybody in the sky, but if Drifters actually run out here with Sim, it's going to be very interesting, because this composition might not be well equipped to deal with it. We do see them go out with the Sim, but they drop the teleporter early, telling us they're not going to be using that teleport to point or even onto the high ground strategy right now. We're just seeing Cry spray at the choke, trying to catch any Sombra out, make sure that boat can't get any advanced reading.
Yeah, and they also made a couple changes for the Drifters after seeing that composition coming from Malice, and this could be working a little bit better to make those dives happen. Try to catch maybe the Torbjorn, maybe the Zenyatta if he's not getting a lot of healing, but this is exactly what Malice knows.
Drifter's going to be going in hard onto that high ground initially, forcing Malice to have to do a little bit of a rotation. Now, Lucio gets taken down early on, though, and Neptune focused a little bit too hard on Psy's turret, so it's already done its job, but Malice loses Sluggo. That is the slowest support in the game to lose with Ana, and now we look at them going ahead, continuing to try to retain here. No point presence being held by the Drifters. These tanks are dangerously low, so they don't want to expose themselves too much, especially against Tree, when that Echo Beam can just deal so much damage. Chip already taken out of a mech, though. It's going to be the contest not coming through just yet. They will be giving up that first tick. Very close to giving up that second tick as well. It will, in fact, be going over. Now, does Malice want to make this last second touch? It looks like the Echo is going to come in, trying to touch, but eventually pushed back. It looks like the Winston was trying to come in, just couldn't make it in time.
Yeah, that's one of the toughest things about the composition. You have those heroes that are able to touch, but you are taking a lot of damage as there's not enough protection. I mean, they're getting kills now, right? So,
but it's too late.
they're going to. It's a very interesting approach. Now they're going to go back to second point, but it might be a little bit too late. Drifters already have that EMP. This is very, very messy for Malice.
Yeah, it's especially messy if you're Sluggo right now, knowing that that EMP can almost one-clip you, as they will strip all those blue shields from the Zenyatta instantly at the drop of a hat. So you have to be keeping a very keen eyes towards what might be happening with that Sombra. EMP goes out, manages to catch two. Sluggo getting taken down by the Pulse Mine, didn't even need to get hit by that EMP. And with this now, Rocket continued to just try to deal so much damage, and Mouse seemed to be crumbling on the second point defense as well.
Yeah, the Thunderbird coming through. A little bit of damage trying to also come through from the side of Malice, but like I said, it might just be too late. The ultimate advantage going absolutely for the side of Drifters.
Three going to be taking the duplicate, has to take it onto the first thing available. That's going to be the Tracer, has the Pulse Bomb up, waits for that Diva Bomb to deactivate, or the Diva Matrix to deactivate. Chip throws out the self-destruct, and it looks like Malice is not quite out of this fight just yet. They're going to hold it right at the second tick.
Yeah, just trying to get second, but it seems like it's not going to be possible for the side of Drifters. And it was just really this fun advantage coming through in clutch for Malice right when they needed it. Getting that initial kill, Sluggo gets one. And now, I mean, they also use a Transcendence, so that means that they have to try to get it again. Drifters, on the other hand, almost 70% for that next EMP already.
And one thing we have to give compliments to both for is building up that EMP as rapidly as they are. Malice going to be really struggling to cope with it each and every time, and that seems to really be the weakness in this team. The Coalescence coming outside, able to take down Neptune, though. That's the second time this 12 run's gotten the kill onto the Lucio. Chip taking a lot of damage from Tree. It's going to be building up a lot of ult charge, even if the Diva doesn't drop right away because of it. Tree able to stay on this high ground and just pepper those tri-shots out. It's going to be Mouse holding once again, and even though they lose players, they have the respawn.
Yeah, they do have this one advantage here, and a couple of more kills coming through from the turret, and that's gotta be another reset happening from Drifters. No, and that was very unfortunate for them too in that first fight. They were not able to get that second tick. It was so close, but not close enough. They do have the EMP now to use this time around. Not really any other ultimates they can use right away, but this EMP, absolutely their win condition. While Malice, they just have to hope that Sluggo doesn't get caught so the Transcendence can come in.
Yeah, you have 6 ultimates almost online for Malice, but none of them matter if everybody gets caught out by the EMP. It's going to be the self-destruct coming out from Cry, and it looks like they're going to use the ultimates before the EMP can come through. This might be a risky gamble, especially if they're not getting any kills. Sluggo on that Zenyatta gets brought back up, and yeah, a couple of kills are going in favor of Drifters, but it doesn't seem like they're getting it quite fast enough. Sluggo comes out with the Transcendence, keeping everybody alive, or at least trying to if they can make it out of spawn. Akash has to drop down, try to retain some sense of healing here, as now member after member looking to be dropping from the side of Malice. No kills coming in quite yet. See that Sombra on the high ground just ready to hack, force the attention to be split for the side of Malice. Drifter's actually getting a double kill with that pulse bump. Looks like this is going to be all wrapped up for them on second point, but despite that, they're still not making a lot of point progress. Akash able to claim back one as Tree gets 2 on their own merit. Now Akash is trying to buy some time, and so does this Tracer tagging inside. Able to get a breath of life in here. That second tick still has not been given up, Dryad.
Oh, everyone from Malice trying to touch a point one by one, trying to deny any sort of space. The Diva comes in, gets shipped, and that might be another reason happening from Drifters.
We're actually seeing Tree come out on this Widowmaker, trying to get those headshots as possible, at least do that big chunk damage. But we're not going to be seeing it this time around. Rocket, a little too heads-on, takes the melee.
There's going to be 1 minute remaining for the set of Drifters to get the second point.
Wow.
Not even able to get that second tick just yet. that EMP. I mean, the EMPs have been so effective. They're also taking Sluggo first before anyone else. But the spawn advantage is so strong for the set of Malice that they're able to come back in time. The self-destruct is going to be ready. That Primal Rage can be ready too, and that's Contenders to keep the team alive. Malice does everything to keep this defense strong.
Drifters just have to not lose out a player to this pulse bomb, but that's exactly what happens. Side takes themselves down and their turret as that pulse bomb sticks right onto their face. Cry gets hacked, meaning that they can't use that self-destruct. And once again, we're seeing a very good position for Drifters here. As long as Malice doesn't start claiming kills back, and as long as they don't stall out, which is exactly what Akash looks to do. Second tick has been given over. Gonna be Sound Barrier from Neptune, keeping everybody on the attacking team alive. EMP coming out, getting everybody in a vulnerable position. No abilities to be used. Neptune, the first to be taken down from Drifters. The question is, will it matter? Malice still suffering for manpower here. Angelic trying to push back, Cry trying to push back, but both dropping in their effort. Side coming in on the Reaper, not going to be able to touch quick enough. Drifters do get the full complete in overtime.
They finally make it happen. Drifters, they were just very unlucky in those prior fights. They were getting taken down early. They didn't get any value. The spawn advantage was just helping out Malice so much, but not anymore. Finally, they complete the second point, and now they go on the side of the defense. Malice, it was so interesting from the beginning when we saw the composition. It was very messy, not shields at all. So that means that they couldn't properly hold that choke point in first. And they got taken down, then they got the kills into first. I mean, we saw a lot of chaos going on from this team, but at least they were able to take Drifters to that overtime.
Yeah, Drifters not going to be too content with that. And to an extent, you have to think they're kicking themselves, right? It took them a little bit too long to decide that they wanted to end that second or third fight. And because of that, if they hadn't, maybe they get a better start, maybe they get more reps in, maybe they have some time left on the clock. That's all hindsight, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And now the Drifters is going to the defense. We can expect a little bit more of the usual strategies on first point. It's going to be Crimson now bringing in the Reinhardt along with Chip on the Sigma. So sort of a double shield coming through for this side of the team. A lot of protection. The complete opposite approach that Malice brought in. And looking forward to putting a lot of damage in, even though Malice, they might be going for that teleported approach that we were talking about.
They might be. We'll see exactly where Side decides to position themselves. They haven't used the teleporter early on to get onto that high ground, so this says good things about the possibility of getting directly onto point. No, instead it's going to be directly onto high ground, but Drifters just a little bit too attentive of that. Going to be destroying that teleporter as soon as it comes in. And with this now, Drifters continuing to just maintain this high ground with Ship and really not allow Malice to pass through for free. It's going to be the boots coming through from Neptune that allows everybody to get disrupted off that high ground, but Malice have already gotten into position. The damage has already been done. Now they're slowly inching their way towards point. Gonna be Drifters looking slightly up at them as they hold a small amount of high ground. The Maywall comes in blocking the accretion, but Angelic caught out, able to be hit by the icicle from Rocket. Sluggo taken down, but it doesn't really matter. Drifters still coming in big with kills.
Yeah, good rotation into point as soon as possible for the set of Drifters. Just maintaining that control, the last kills coming through, and Malice getting taken down. Have to go for another approach, and that means Tree. Now, once you go and play that McCree, trying to get those headshots as soon as possible. But like I said, Drifters, they have a lot of protection with that double shield. That is going to be difficult to even get the stuns going on.
Based purely on the attentiveness we've seen Drifters come out with towards those teleporters, I question the effectiveness of this Symmetra. Again, we're seeing those teleporters get destroyed almost immediately, but it looks like that's exactly kind of what Malice wanted here. The Immortality Field is going to be going out, preventing anybody from dropping from the Gravitic Flux, and just like that, Drifters got a little bit too distracted with where the teleporter was, lost sight of the choke for just a second. Even I fell for it, Dryad.
We all fell for it. It seems like Malice, they take control of the point slowly but surely, and it's gotta be Drifters going to second point, giving up, and also changing a little bit of their approach to net both on the hand. So one of my favorite heroes to see on second point, Katamura, just because you can get a lot of value out of those one headshots that are going to completely reset the attacking of the enemy team.
Now, as we see here, Malice having a couple ultimates that will soon be in their pockets, that Earthshatter and Diva self-destruct most notably, but they're going to have to cope with quite a bit coming in from the Drifters war chest as well. 4 ultimates build up if you count Rocket's Blizzard, which, based on the rate of icicle hits, I'd say you might as well. Now the amplification matrix is going to come out. Rocket landing a headshot on the side through the matrix. That's going to certainly do the damage that you need. And now Malice not going to be winning it with this push.
It seems like the attack for instead of Malice wasn't really prepared for the damage coming through for the defense of Drifters. And Drifters, they are looking good for the next couple of fights. They have a lot of ultimates they can initiate with that Shatter from Crimson again. And that Blizzard as well is going to deny a lot of space from the high ground that Malice is fighting to take on. So Drifters, there's 4 minutes for Malice, but Drifters, they're not worried about it just yet.
You see Boat on this Hanzo now looking to get a lot of damage done. You can get those absolutely big bursts of damage with that Hanzo arrow. Now, as we look, the sonar arrow is also going to be revealing the location of Malice, and they're kind of stuck in the mix here, and it doesn't really matter. Crimson's going to be pushing their will into this enemy team, and with that, it's almost a full team wipe. Cry able to get away.
Yeah, the Shatter from Drifters, and that is it. There's nothing else they needed to use to make that cleanup. Malice, on the other hand, now they have a Shatter of their own. And Boat, okay, what?
I don't know.
Yeah, they just casually get that shot. Sometimes I don't know with hands is it. Sometimes it's planned, sometimes it's, you know, just a lucky headshot that they get. Well, for Drifters will get them, we'll say that it was absolutely planned. And now Drifters, they have to wait even longer. I mean, they got their support. Malice are ready to attack yet again. A couple ultimates to come in. They have a Shatter, but it has to connect with the amplification.
And they have to be fast. Boat still has that dragon online, and if they send it down this cramped hallway when Malice has no way of getting out, that's pretty much it. And that's exactly what we see here. We see them get cut off. Akash getting pushed into the dragons. Crimson comes in to clean, and just like that, you can't let them get on you like that, Malice.
They just get taken down. It seems like they're not even expecting Drifters to play aggressive, but it works out so well for this team that Malice, they're just saving those ultimates. They're about to have 6 ultimates for the side of Malice on the attack, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be effective. I have to be very careful as Drifters. They also have their own. They can deny those abilities with the flux and even protecting themselves with the sound barrier from the damage that's going to come from the attacking side. So very curious to see what they're going to bring. There's still 2 minutes remaining, but fights here can last a long time.
They certainly can, especially when we're seeing ult banks as full as we have right now. Malice is going to be changing up the routing they're taking. They're going to be going on to the low ground. However, once again, they're getting caught at these angles. They keep changing their plans up bit by bit. That wall needs to be torn down to allow the McCree to go in with that high noon. Drifter's going to be content to let them just move through. Cry going to be eating the blizzard of Rocket. A lot of ultimates coming online. As we can see, the sound barrier, the gravitic flux, the blizzards. So many things happening for both of these teams, but it looks like it's working out in the favor of Drifter's. Boat going to be eating a fist from Cry, but that's about it.
Yeah, the flags also coming in time to deny any sort of positioning that Malice wanted to take, and Drifter, they're doing an amazing job here. In second point, Hanamura, about 1 minute remaining by the time the next fight starts. And Malice, they're running out of ideas. I mean, we saw them going to the low ground, then also trying to get the high ground, then the Reinhardt got isolated. Seems like they want to go for the high ground approach again, but it's going to be hard while Crimson once again with the Shatter.
Certainly going to be very difficult. Hopefully Akash learned their lesson. Going to be keeping an eye towards that high ground, but now the Dragon's coming in from a completely different angle. Akash going to be going in, swinging at that Hanzo as he drops, but not quite finding too much. Sai throws out the Blizzard, not quite sure where it landed. Landed in the small T towards that high ground possession. It's going to be Crimson going in for the Earth Shatter, landing onto Akash, landing onto, I believe, Angelic as well. Now the high noon from Tree has the opportunity to be free and clear here if they go for it. They do not. Instead, they decide to drop onto the low ground, and just like this, it looks like this might be an opportunity for Malice, but Sluggo drops without that healing. It's going to be hard for Akash, Sai, and Tree to all retain. Boat getting some high ground with that Widowmaker helps ensure this fight for the Drifters.
Just a last second Widowmaker approach. That's exactly what Drifter's trying to do to secure this map, and they might have just done it.
They certainly might, especially as Angelic falls. That means Cry is going to have to get onto point. Not able to catch that Blizzard, but there's only so much you can do when you have to focus on getting 2 point. And with that, it's going to go all in favor of Drifters.
an amazing job by the side of Drifters, and a little bit unexpected too how much control they had on second point. They didn't let it go a single time. Malice, they couldn't get a single tick into that second point, and it made it really hard for them to get any ultimates going, any sort of momentum going. It was getting denied immediately. We didn't even see those proper fights happening. They just got taken down by the Shatter, and then it was just a cleanup from Drifters coming in.
You're absolutely right. It didn't. It definitely didn't feel like there were multiple fights. It just felt like there were multiple setup phases that culminated into that final last fight. I mean, I said it before, but Malice just got too hung up on those rotations. Whether it was the high ground, that T junction, whether it was when they tried to wrap down below, they ended up doubling back and going over that small bridge. Either way, it just did not look great for them in their decision-making capabilities there. I have no doubt that this team can pull it out, but they're going to need to sharpen up just a bit.
Yeah, we've seen some really good highlights from the side of Malice and from the side of Drifters too, but it's Drifters the one able to keep that momentum that we saw at the end. And that's what I was talking about. When you're making the decision of going into Hanamura, you have to be comfortable about how good your defense can be on this point, especially into second point. Malice, they went for a very interesting approach into first. They didn't have any shields, any sort of way to protect themselves from the damage coming in and choke, and they lost it immediately. That was the first mistake that we saw from them, and then they were committing mistakes. The DPS, they couldn't get those kills because everyone from Drifters was so well protected into second.
Yeah, they certainly were, and I know we're talking about, you know, the ways Malice could be better, but can I just take a moment to rewind this and laugh about how they played that sim strategy, right? When they finally broke through that point, it wasn't because they used the teleporter and got everybody through. No, they just used the teleporter, let the enemy team distract themselves with it just a little bit, and then by then, bam, just like a freight train hit the opposing enemy team of Drifters. Wasn't enough to carry them to that second point, but sometimes it's all you can do.
Yeah, and that was a very interesting approach, especially because we saw the side of the defense, they were playing a fast composition, but it doesn't feel like it was fast enough. Now we see there's going to be a couple more changes once again for the DPS line of the side of Malice. It seems like Foreshadow is going to come in again. So now, once again, we see those swaps coming in, but they're not really an indication. And this is what I like about Malice. This is not an indication of someone playing a specific hero and nothing else. Everyone in the DPS lineup can play multiple different heroes depending on the situation, depending on the pressure that the team is having. So Foreshadow coming in can mean that they want to play a little bit more careful, they want to play more aggressive. We have to see.
Yeah, we will be going on to our next map, which is going to be King's Row, as you can see there on our nice, lovely map screen. And I can only wonder what this means in a day where it feels like all we've gotten is Winston's. Now we're seeing Hanamura, we're seeing King's Row, where Reinhardt's are probably going to prevail.
And we've seen a little bit of that Reinhardt coming through, but it's not very consistent. Like you say, we've seen a little Winston's coming in, and it's all just about the map. I think for King's Row, we can absolutely expect the Reinhardt to come in again. It can be so effective, whether you want to play with the D.Va or with the Zarya. And talking about D.Va, we've seen some really good eats of Blizzards throughout this match and the match before that really highlight why D.Va is being played so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, mitigating an entire ult with with basically what would be considered the equivalent of similar to a Reinhardt shield or, you know, a Sigma kinetic grasp, that's massive. And the fact that D.Va can do that from, you know, 10, 15 meters away, that provides you a lot of safety room, a lot of opportunity. Did not have to be directly on top of that ult, whether it's a May Blizzard, whether it's a Hanzo Dragons, which we didn't really see get eaten this time around, but or whether it's a Grab, which we see when paired with the Reinhardt Zarya or the Winston Zarya a lot of times.
Right. Yeah, you have the possibility, but I think, I mean, that doesn't really deny how much value you can get with the Rein Zarya. Oh, yeah. And it's one of my favorite things to see in Overwatch, just having that synergy with the Reinhardt and the Zarya, connecting and communicating when you're going to use that bubble into your main tank, trying to build that energy. And with Grab, and as we go into King's Row, the one thing that I can think about is if you use the Grab with Hanzo Dragons, I mean, that is going to be the fight. You don't even have to do anything else.
Yeah, I mean, the most you might have to do is destroy a Baptiste Immortality field if it comes out, but I absolutely agree with you. That is one of the most powerful and easy to set up combos that you can make.
Also one of my favorites too because it happens so fast. I mean, no one else is able to move, and unfortunately, I mean, for the enemy team, it puts a lot of pressure into the diva to eat that grab to avoid that from happening, and sometimes you really can't make it. But going to King's Row here, Malice now starting on the side of the defense, like we said, for Shadow and Sai in for the DPS line is going to be that Ryan diva being played.
Will be the Rhine Diva, and it looks like Drifters might be settling. Nope, they're going to be settling on the Rhine Diva as well, sending Boat out on that Widowmaker just to try to get some early damage. Doesn't find it, sure, the switch will be coming through. It's going to be looking like a mirror matchup for both of these teams, Dryad.
A mirror matchup, and this is one of the best ways to see how much of that synergy they have going on. There's May walls, I mean, happening at the same time too.
Maywall going to be buying just a little bit of space. Skyward's still going to be investing in that Immortality field early on, meaning Drifters are at a little bit of resource advantage there. Sluggo gets taken down, but Malice still coming out a little bit stronger here as they manage to get way more kills.
There's a positioning as well. Cash very, very low, slowly getting killed by the Lucio and the Baptiste and Drifters. They have to go again, but they're not worried about it. It's all about that ultimate economy that they're able to build, especially in this rush competition.
And although we do see the kill coming out, it looks like Drifters will only be able to capitalize on it for 1 second. Those Maywalls going to be able to slow everything down. Boat actually getting caught on the rough side of a Maywall. The Reinhardt actually got booped back, so they couldn't shield up against that. Drifters now on the back foot have to try to take a step away. Crimson tries to pin in deep towards their spawn. Can't quite connect with another Maywall, choking off spawn point.
Malice looks so confident on this map, and he loves seeing this from the team. They have a couple ultimates to use now. Amplification to start it off, trying to delay that push again from Drifters. And Drifters just trying to come out of their spawn, which has been impossible so far.
Not been able to touch that point for any considerable amount of time. We're going to be seeing the high noon come out, but it looks like Drifters all going to be taking that rotation onto the high ground. There's not really much from Malice to contest that, but Skyward drops the amplification matrix right onto point, and Malice have to try to break line of sight, but that opens things up nice and clean for Drifters to get right there onto point, take their opportunity. Earth Shatter online for Akash. Looks like they're considering it, but they're holding back. They're letting their health pools rise up a little bit. Akash firing through the amplification matrix, actually able to get Rocket, and with this, first tick still not yet been achieved. Drifters slowly backing away, knowing they don't have that May to make some space. In fact, getting cut off by the opposing team's May. Skyward getting picked out of the sky by the Icicle. Now with this, Malice continue to hold so close to losing first tick.
I like the perk from Malice, especially in panics and how carefully they were playing. They protected themselves, and then they were also using that shield to try to block that shatter, which happened for them immediately. Even if they didn't connect their own, it was enough to put that pressure into Drifters to go back to try it again.
You hear the high noon coming out from Boat. Everybody getting frozen up from these blizzards. Look like Rocket tried to throw out that Diva Blizzard and the May Blizzard, and does in fact connect. Rocket not able to get the headshot before they drop to the explosion. With this, once again, a good opportunity for Drifters. They just can't quite follow through.
Doesn't seem like it's the same Drifters that we saw on the last map. They are losing the momentum, only 1 minute remaining, less than a minute remaining for the set of Drifters, and because of that Boat now going to the hands, so trying to get those headshots happening again. Malice building the ultimate economy yet again. They've been so good at making those rotations.
As we see the amplification matrix come out, high noon going to be going in, lands onto Neptune. With that, the sound barrier not going to be able to save them this time around, and Malice just doing their best to clean off any scattered members from the side of Drifters, who eventually going to have to fall in. We're looking at the last fight territory, Dryad.
And Malice, I mean, you look at the ultimate that they're about to get, and they have to win this last fight. So only 15 seconds remaining. Drifters, they lost every single ultimate into the last 2 fights.
They have, and Malice still have a couple onto their hip. They have that Blizzard that's ready soon. They have the Earth Shatter. They have everything that they could need for Shadow. Still a ways away from that high noon, but I won't tell it if you don't. Blizzard goes out, locking everybody down. Earth Shatter as well, now that the Rhine not able to contest it. Chip getting caught out, frozen, ejected, evicted from point. All the E words here, Dryad, as it's just Neptune trying to stay alive. Eventually meets a fist to the face courtesy of Sluggo. Overtime burns down. And just like that, Malice have set themselves up very nicely.
And the team kill as well to end it all. Drifters, they didn't know how to initiate the fight. We talked about that mirror match that we saw happening and what it could signify for teams. And what we can get already is that Malice, they are better at the mirror match. They were isolating the targets, they were getting taken down, and they saw this approach from Drifters, trying to protect themselves from the dead idea, went into the high ground, used the amplification matrix, and that could have been a really good start. But Malice was playing this so carefully, trying to protect themselves and trying to not make a single mistake, that it worked out so well. They simply intimidated Drifters to go all the way back to spawn and wait for everyone else to come back. So Malice, yeah, like you said, they set themselves up for a very good victory here in King's Row.
Absolutely. As now we look ahead, Drifters on this defense. They're going to be coming out with Boat on this Hanzo. This Hanzo's going to be very effective at breaking walls, breaking shields. The question is, will it be enough to deal with damage before Malice can close the gap?
Especially because it's one tick, right? So it's going to be very, very difficult for Drifters to make this work. It's all about this rotation in King's Row first. It's more than anything else. When you want to play aggressive, when you have to back up to hotel, make sure that your team is staying alive. When you're going to use that mortality field, also making sure that your team is not using it a little bit too early. So Malice, they have the momentum, but Drifters, they also have a lot of pressure.
We'll see which one comes out a little bit more successfully here. No divas this time around. It's going to be all Sigmas. Maywall's coming in from both sides, and once again, it's an early immortality field. Drifters going to be getting some easy clean up. The 3 members from the side of Malice dropping Cry soon to follow, and Angelic going within the same swoop.
Malice not worried about this fight just quite yet, and what I want to see from Malice now is putting pressure into point more than anything else. This is a one team. Sometimes they decide to go wrecking ball, being a little bit destructive into the back line, and even if they don't want to go for this approach, putting that pressure into point and going right in, intimidating Drifters yet again is the best way for them to take that victory fast.
As we see now Malice going for a little bit more of the ground routing. You see them continuing to try to wrap around this statue. The amplification matrix comes out, and with this, Drifters have to be very careful here. Any exposure will make them take a bunch of damage. Crimson taking quite a bit himself, but with the Earth Shatter, nobody is going to be able to put down enough. And with that, Drifters continue to push ahead.
Yeah, a little bit of that cleanup once again happening for the set of Drifters, and the defense so far doing a really good job, playing a little bit slower, not overextending to a point that is going to be detrimental for their team, but trying to get those headshots with the hands, so trying to also build that ultimate economy that they have now. And Malice, they just lost it.
As we now see the amplification matrix coming out from the Drifters, Crimson firing through and getting a nice shot onto Sluggo. However, things equalizing a bit with the blizzard that comes out. The tanks for the side of the Drifters are going to be taking a beating, but they're going to be kept alive by Skyward Rocket there to help out, lock everybody down with that nice frosty blast. Now 2 minutes left on the clock.
And it was a good initiation from the side of Malice, just putting that pressure into point, but it doesn't seem like they have the necessary speed to do so, especially taking into account they have a May and a McCree. They are relying on isolating these targets, getting those stones to try to take them down and have that initiation, and in the meantime, it just relies on the tank to allow them and give them the space to do so.
A bit of Gravitic Flux and the Dragons coming online, one for each team, and Try able to take down Skyward, but that might not be enough for Malice here. Rocket actually trying to, I believe, throw out the Blizzard, but got knocked out of the animation by the Accretion. With this, the Earth Shatter comes out. Looks like it might just be the push for Malice. They just have to clean up Neptune. Getting that one tick, they do achieve it, and now, all of a sudden, things are all tied up.
Very, very patiently played by the side of Malice. They lost a couple of fights, but they still are able to win that map. A very interesting King's Row. Not very often we see that full hold happening from the beginning.
You're absolutely right here. Malice going to be breathing a sigh of relief as we will be heading into our 5th map shortly. But first, folks, we're going to be taking another break. Overwatch Contenders Trials continues after the break. And we are back, folks. 2-2. Malice versus Drifters. This has been a thrilling matchup so far, Dryad. I was afraid that Malice would have just petered out after the control map, but Kings Row has shown us that they still have something left in the tank.
Yeah, and Malice, I mean, the thing is that they like taking us to the distance. Last time that we saw them 2 days ago, they went against Operation Academy, and they also took us to 5 maps. So they just want to keep the tradition going. They want to take us to the last 5th map to decide who is going to be the one who comes out on top.
I mean, you're absolutely right, and you know that's partially my fault, right? I called them up. I said, "Hey, I love casting these Overwatch trials so much. I need you guys to make them go as long as possible." Malice said, "Don't worry, fam. I got you." They're here hooking it up with Drifters, going the distance. But as we look into Lijiang Tower here, Dryad, we are going to be going to perhaps see one of the more diverse maps that we would normally see. I mean, that's pretty common of a lot of these control type maps. But how do you anticipate this?
I mean, there's a lot of question marks when it comes to figuring out what's going to happen, the maps that are going to go down, and how teams are going to perform, because like we've seen, there's a lot of ups and downs depending on who they're facing. So, I mean, we can talk about any team. Sometimes they face one of the strongest teams in trials, and they don't look as strong, and sometimes they look a little bit more even. It's all about that preparation as well going on. So, for Malice, even though they seem to be the strongest team compared to looking at what we saw from them in the past, Drifters have put up a really good fight, especially the tanks have been the ones that are allowing for the rest of the team to have the space necessary. They are being very careful, and even though they didn't win that King's Row and it was very difficult for them, those are one of the situations that you have to take into account. Not every team is good at every single map, and sometimes they really can't get that momentum going in time.
Yeah, and another thing worth noting, I feel, is that Malice won their first control map. They did win Nepal, so you know maybe the gameplay type of this map type leans itself a little bit more towards Malice's favor, where Drifters may be a little bit more built for, you know, that assault or that escort type game, where now Malice can just focus on, you know, what they win with, what they, I believe, consistently have won with. So we'll see here as these maps are getting loaded in. We can see right there, it looks like we're starting on Night Market.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, you mentioned the control maps and how important they are, but when we saw the first control map, it was going back and forth, and like we said, that was the first kind of hint of how this match is going to go. We saw a lot of really good moments for both teams, but it's got to be defined now, and it's all about this composition being played, that initiation of those fights. I think Drifters, on this specific map, they might be taking the advantage depending on how fast they're able to get into point and how fast they can get their tanks to play a little bit more aggressive. But a lot of things to be defined just yet.
As we do look in, it is going to in fact be a night market, as we can see those nice little food stands right in front of the spawn. Tree and Sai going to be rolling out with Doom and May. We'll be curious to see. No sim to get people teleported rather quickly, but Drifters will certainly be taking advantage of that in-game mechanic. We'll see if Malice gets stunted for the worst of it. Immortality Field gonna be going out, both getting taken down, but Drifters have done the damage, have done their pre-workout, and now gonna be cleaning up, and just like that, it's almost a full team wipe.
Yeah, it happens really fast for the side of Drifters. A little bit of that approach for the sort of double shield is going to be a very hybrid composition going on with the Winston and with the Reinhardt. Also, they have this Metra, which won that initial fight to Malice, forced out of that comfortable composition. Now going to more of that brawl, classic brawl that we know with the May and the Reaper.
Going to be the teleporter getting set up. Boat lands a big hit onto Sluggo. Gets blocked, however, by that May Ice Form. Sai able to take them out. Got picked up, but Crimson killing a caution during travel.
Malice, they're able to get a couple kills, but it's absolutely not enough, especially with Drifters now having that barrier from Symmetra. Being able to use it for that next fight is going to either delay that push from Malice, or is going to make it very difficult for them to connect those kills. So in any way, Drifters looking very, very comfortable to build at 60%.
the amplification matrix come out, and right now Rocket's just content to launch those dodgeballs through, see what they connect with, wear down the shields, wear down the resources, or at least buy a little bit of time, as 50% has already ticked up for Drifters. We see that teleporter getting set up, and now Malice has to keep eyes on both sides of their head. They get absolutely swung on. It's going to be the proton barrier, it's going to be the sound barrier coming out, and a primal rage just to top it all off. The blizzard goes out, but so does the earth shatter, landing onto 3. Malice cleaned up at the blink of an eye.
Very good momentum being built from the side of Drifters. I mean, this is just getting harder and harder for Malice to come back to. As, yeah, they have a couple ultimate, but they're also making a couple changes. Tree now going to the Doomfist side, trying to get any value of this May, even knowing that it's going to be very difficult to build that Blizzard to create space on point.
As we see now, Malice has an opportunity to open something up with these tank ultimates, but they need to get in position, and right now Rocket makes it very difficult to do that with the quick repositioning that can happen. Boat going to be going in for the Meteor Strike, has the opportunity to find something, doesn't quite connect with anything, and Crimson going down means that a lot of members of the side of Drifters are going to be exposed. Malice using both the tank ultimates that they have, not building up as many as they'd like, but they will get points.
Yeah, just in time. The 99 for Drifters was looking scary for the set of Malice. They wanted to put up a fight, and those changes really coming through and allowing them to almost build the ultimate economy they need for the next couple of fights, including that Blizzard, like you said, Sai, about to have it very, very soon. And Drifters, they can just hope to go again and trying to put that pressure with that amplification.
As we keep eyes towards this fight, now it's Drifters who have to push in. They're sticking on this Symmetra, which is an interesting choice, perhaps given that Rocket is 80% to that proton barrier, allowing just a lot of damage to be mitigated, like a giant Reinhardt shield, except about 20 times more effective. Sound barrier coming in for the side of Drifters, but it comes in a little bit late, and because of that, everybody's going to get frozen out, allowing that sound barrier to wear off. However, Drifters are able to get the point flipped. Going to be Tree trying to go in with that Doomfist, going in with the big punch. Not quite able to connect, though. Rocket now taken down. It's the Earth Shatter coming in from Akash this time, swinging as much as they can, but gets jostled into the wall by that Doomfist. Sai trying their best. Sai actually, I believe, got lifted up by the Doomfist punch, avoided that Earth Shatter, and now with this, Malice has to try to make something happen, try to get this point flipped. Going to be doing it with a Meteor Strike. The Meteor Strike landing just seconds after. Not quick enough, however. With that, it's going to be Tree and getting away for a moment. That is until they eat a pin by Crimson. Now with Drifters just having the overwhelming manpower on point, it doesn't look like there's anything Malice can do.
Yeah, this is getting very, very difficult for it to have Malice to try to make that comeback as Drifters. They have that momentum, they have those ultimates, and they were able to use them just in time. They get the advantage here in Legion Tower, but it's not over yet.
It is certainly not over yet. Round 1 of potentially 3. And now as we head on to Gardens, we're going to be seeing a little bit of a different compositional style perhaps come out from both these teams. Gardens, the diviest of maps.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time we see Gardens, we can expect at least a Winston, even if teams decide to vary with the Zarya and the D.Va of the Winston. It's going to be usually a must coming through along with the Lucio. Always works so well together to get that speed going, to also delay the enemy team from taking control of the point. So it works out so well. Drifters taking the advantage, trying to keep this momentum going.
I'm going to be seeing that teleporter come out from Drifters. However, they don't choose to stay on the sim this time around. Rock going to be switching onto the Tracer rather quickly, and Crimson has to back out and away from the Malice team. That's going to give Malice a lot more space, a lot more openings to work with here, a little bit more geometry as well, as we see those Winstons trying to lean into one another, take quite a bit of damage. That D.Va will be breaking the bubble, however, and once again, Crimson has to get out, leaves Ship a little out to dry there. And because of that, we're seeing now Malice has the opportunity to get first point capture. Boat does take down Tree, but that's only a slight victory.
A very, very similar matchup that we're seeing right now, but look at that Tree almost having that EMP, while Boat is also looking very close. There's gotta be those fights for the EMP, maybe even that counter EMP. We haven't seen it in a long time, but it can happen again.
We're seeing coalescences come out from both of these teams. Tree getting that EMP online, but can only do so much. Skyward staying back, and it really was that 3% for Boat getting that EMP just a little bit faster that allowed them to win the fight this effectively.
Yeah, that EMP always coming out to be what allows him to win those fights so easily. And with that Coalesce again serving as an initiation tool, Malice completely lose that point, but it is now them who have the EMP. It was a Sombra Firm Tree getting hacked, but really didn't allow it to happen, but they have yet another opportunity here.
He's seeing Malice push inside. Once again, as that Reaper going to be looking to get in there. Rocket gets their pulse bomb eaten by Cry. And it's just the tanks from Drifters to get caught out by the EMP. Shift, however, taking a lot of damage, trying to be kept alive. Has to use that Diva Bomb to try to get back into mech. Does so successfully, but they've already lost their Winston. They've already lost their Tracer. They're going to get meched out again. Now with this, Akash is trying to take out this Lucio, is just hanging around the top of the building, doing what they can, and so far, it's buying him a few percentage points.
And this is why this map is so difficult to try to take control of. It's got to be from the beginning. No. The permanent rage being used in the meantime gets tagged. Don't worry about it just yet, as long as the team is able to take control of the point. Drifters, that's exactly what they're doing.
Drifters are trying to get regrouped, and they're doing so with a Coalescence. It's going to be the Death Blossom coming out from side, just applying that constant pressure right on the middle of point, making it that much harder for the side of Drifters to contest. Malice continuing to clean up here. Skyward trying their best, but gets caught out. Rocket as well, just hanging in the back lines, waiting to contest once again. This is looking very good for Drifters, just in the amount of time they bought.
Yeah, but both EMPs are going to be ready, and this is really what's going to define if Drifters can take it to the 100% or not. How soon that tree EMP is going to come through, trying to get the kill into Boat.
Oh, and we are seeing Boat creep around in the back end, has that translocator out and ready to go. Finally, it's going to be going to Malice with 88% on Drifters.
Yeah, like I said, that fight, all about those EMPs coming through. Both of them are going to be available as they try to also build that Coalescence to initiate the fights like we saw. Both of these ultimates try to come at the same time, the Coalescence to keep those ceilings alive.
As we see now, EMPs online. It's going to be landing onto 3. Crimson taken down almost immediately off the back end of that boat. Trying to duel the Lucio, but can't even win that, leaving the rest of their team a little bit hungry for some assistance. With this, most of Drifters are going to be taking a swim in the moat.
60% in the meantime for the set of Malice. That EMP only came through for Malice. Drifter still has theirs available. If they're able to connect it to the tanks, that is going to be it. That is going to be what they're looking for to go in, and it gets 5.
That is a big, and a stick from Rocket right onto Angelic. Sluggo taken down as well, means no supports available for Malice. This might be their death knell, as they can't lose this fight. They at least need to try to keep on as long as possible, but there's nobody there.
Malice, they can just hope to touch point. I mean, they have a lot of ultimates, but can they even have a proper fight now? It's going to be difficult with that Coalescence. And also the Sound Barrier, trying to give them a little bit of health, might be their last chance.
They do get the contest coming in, the Sound Barrier coming in. Malice committing most everything that they have. Side drops the Death Blossom. Rocket managing to take out Tree. It's going to be Sluggo throwing in the damage, throwing in the healing as much as possible. Sluggo eventually backing out, and Cry able to take down Rocket. That is a good opportunity here for the side of Malice. Akash, having used that Primal, now trying to play within their bubble, knowing that the healing a little bit more limited, leaping deep into the opponent's side. Gets taken down. Now the tanks from Drifters don't have as much threat imposed on them, but they still have to worry about the EMP. At least they would if everybody from the side of Malice wasn't getting cleaned up like a bad stain right now. And with this, it looks like Drifters are good to take it.
And they talk about Drifters and their tanks, and they get those last kills with their Reinhardt, gets 4 and guarantees the victory for Drifters. A really good job here in Legion Tower. We were talking about a control map. Sometimes at the beginning can be difficult for teams, but towards the end, everyone's warmed up, everyone's ready to go. A lot of ultimates that allowed them to take the victory to make a difference.
Yeah, and you really have to give it up to Drifters. They were losing that second fight for what felt like 60%, but they still just managed to keep one player on, kind of like how Malice was playing Hanamura for those first couple of pushes, but they just weren't able to hold on to it, unlike Drifters, who were eventually able to reclaim, regain their composure, retake, and then eventually win the map.
Yeah, absolutely. They did an amazing job, and it was one of the things that we mentioned. It was having those tanks making a difference, creating the space for the team, or having the DPS from Malice allowing them to have those skills and the confidence that you can get them over and over again. And this time around, it was Drifters tanks, and of course everyone knows supporting them, that allowed them to come up on top in a very, very close series.
Well, this time it's going to be going over to Drifters, leading their opponent's Malice 3-2. But we're not quite done with Overwatch Contenders Trials, folks. We will be back with a brief interview after this break. Hello and welcome back, everyone. And as promised, we have Cameron in here. Not Cameron, excuse me. Got my names all mixed up. I get the wrong thing. Neptune. We have Neptune in here. I apologize, my friend. But more importantly, perhaps, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Now, obviously, this was a little bit of a longer game. And normally we talk about, what was your mindset going into this game. But when it comes to these longer games, you personally, how do you deal with kind of the fatigue that can kind of happen just in general with Overwatch players?
I mean, to be honest, throughout like our OD runs, like we've been in losers multiple times, but so like we're like really used to like these long games. Like even like during OD, we had to play a first of best of 7 like for winners finals. And then we had to go into like 1 or 2 more games after that. So like throughout like our entire history, like we've been like kind of been thrown longer games. So like all that like built up is normal.
All right.
And I mean, this was a very long series, and you say that you're used to, going to the losers bracket and making those comebacks. But how do you kind of reset that mental after losing 1 map, maybe 2, maybe a couple that are very difficult? So how do you, talk to your team, like, just to get that momentum going again?
For us, like we really, our coaching staff like really keep us like focused, and especially like our other starters, like we have a DPS rotation of Maxwell, Rocket, and Boat. So whoever's like on the sideline are like making sure like we don't rush. We like in our minds we make sure we play the game first and don't focus on winning, because at the end of the day that's all that matters. Just play normal.
Yeah, and we can definitely see a lot of really good moments that you guys had, and we've talked about. I mean, last interview that we had with Malice, they were saying that they had the most stacked roster in trials. Do you think that's true?
I think they're really good. Like Tree, shout out to Tree. He's like a big homie of mine. Since like way back in the day. He's an amazing player. But I don't know, Rocket's Chase is fucking nutty,
Well, fantastic. I think we saw quite a few good plays coming out from the Drifters. So overall, very happy with what we saw. And before I do let you go, Neptune, that's about all we have for you. Do you want to give you the opportunity, though, to give any shout-outs you might have?
I would say shout out to our staff for really keeping us like in terms of scouting, like really focused. Also, like I mentioned Tree earlier, I have a lot of friends on that team, so it's really good to play them. And then my whole team and all my friends that are watching.
All right. Well, once again, Neptune, thank you very much for hopping in here, answering a few of our questions, letting the people hear you. And once again, congratulations.
Tree grow up.
And with that, Dryad, we are about ready to conclude Overwatch Contenders Trials for today. But folks, don't worry, we will be back same time tomorrow with more. Be sure to tune in then. But until next time, we hope you stay safe and take care, everybody.